Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was the son of twin dragons and fall in love with Mirajane, Erza and Satsuki. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. In a country known as the Land of Fire, there was a village known as the Hidden Leaf. The village was known to be the most powerful village in the elemental nations, not just for their skills but also for the bonds they held with each other. At least that was true before the night of the Kyuubi incident. In the village, there was a young boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 yellow whiskers. This boy was Naruto Uzumaki. Right now, he was looking outside the room watching his parents training his sister. He would try to join but they would always put him off. Why? It all happened on the night of his and his twin sister's birth. The night of the twins' birth, their mother Kushina Uzumaki, also known as the Red Death, was kidnapped by a man in an black and orange mask. The man extracted the 9-tailed fox demon from inside her and set it on a rampage in the village. That night the fox demon brought nothing but death and misery upon the village. The 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was able to lure the beast to a secluded area, where he and his wife was able to subdue the beast and ran the masked man off. After that they were to seal away the 9-tails chakra into his daughter. The girl was presented to the village as a hero. The villagers rejoiced and thought of her as their savior. The boy, however, was shunned by everyone and soon forgotten. Naruto was forgotten by everyone, no one in the village even acknowledged the boy's presence. The villagers didn't even know that the Hokage even had a son. Naruto was only acknowledged by 4 people in his life that he considered precious. Naruto grew up in his sister's shadow. He was forgotten in vacations, Christmas, parties, and everything. His godparents didn't even acknowledge him. Naruto was shunned for his sister and he was sick. We now find him outside in the backyard training area of his house. He had decided to give them one last chance before he gave up completely. Tree climbing exercise. I bet Kasumi doesn't know this yet. I'll bet they train me after this. Naruto thought to himself. He began to train himself to learn the chakra. Unknown to him there were 2 pairs of eyes watching him, looking down on him with happy, loving smiles. "Oh honey, look at him," a midnight-haired woman said towards her husband with love in her voice. The man with black hair with red eyes next to her nodded as he looked at Naruto with the same expression. "I know. Soon Naruto, we will take you away from this horrible place and give you a new home and a family who will love you more than anything," he said. The 2 then disappeared in a flash of white light. Later that evening after his parents and sister had come back, he had ran outside to them with an excited look on his face. "Mom, Dad, could come outside please, I want to show you something," Naruto asked hopefully. The parents sighed in annoyance since they clearly did not want to deal with this, but complied. The 4 went outside where Naruto went over to tree he had practicing on all afternoon. He put chakra to his feet and went up the tree sticking to it. The parents and their daughter were shocked by what their brother did, then their shocked looks were replaced by anger. Naruto had come down from the tree. "So what did you guys think?" he asked with a hopeful smile. Their response was punch to the stomach from his father, which made him collapse to the ground. Naruto looked up to see Minato looking down on him with an angry look on his face. "You stupid idiot, who taught you that anyway?" Minato shouted angrily. I took a scroll from your study," he said fearfully. Kushina then came up and slapped him across the face. "What the hell, Naruto? We give you everything and this is how you repay us?" Kushina screamed. "You know what, go to your room. I don't want to see your face and you're not getting dinner either." Naruto then got up and ran to the door, only to be confronted by his sister who approached him and slapped him down to the ground. "Naruto, you baka," she yelled. Naruto just got up and ran past her, but not before screaming at them. "I hate you all," he screamed with tears in his eyes. This caused them to get hurt and shock looks on their faces. Naruto then ran toward his room, leaving them in turmoil of what they've done. Later that night Kasumi was in her room, reading a book her godfather gave her. But she really couldn't concentrate on it since her thoughts was on her brother. She felt betrayed by her brother when he went and learned something without her, but she couldn't help but feel that part of it was their fault. Maybe I can make it up to Oni-chan, but having Ka-san make him a special dinner, no, that wouldn't work. She thought. Maybe I should just go and apologize. Kasumi then got up and went outside her room towards her brother's room. When she reached his room she was nervous since she thought he was probably still mad. Kasumi gathered up what courage she had and hesitantly knocked on his door. No answer. She knocked again and there was still no answer. She then decided to reach for the handle and twisted it open. She stepped inside her brother's room, and what she saw really surprised her. It was empty, just a bed, window, a lamp, and dresser. It was nothing compared to her room, which was littered with posters and stuffed animals alike. While Kasumi was looking around, she found a note on her brother's desk. She went over to her brother's desk, picked it up and started reading it. By the time she reached the end she had tears in her eyes and did the one thing a 6-year-old would do. Scream. Minato and Kushina's room. Hey Minato, do you think we went too far with Naruto earlier? Kushina asked, putting on her nightgown. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't have hit him. But I felt so mad when he went learn something without supervision. He could have gotten hurt, but I think we hurt him more. Minato answered. Maybe we can make it up to him, maybe if we train him a little. He might forgive us, Kushina said with an hopeful smile. Yeah, and maybe if I teach him my Rasengan, he'll. Minato was cut off by Kasumi's screaming. The two parents rushed out the room towards where they heard her screams. They found her in Naruto's room on the floor chanting sorry over and over again. Kushina and Minato went over to the daughter to find out what's wrong with her, but they couldn't over her excessive crying. They then found a note on the floor and read it. If you're reading this, I've already left this hellhole. I am sick of being treated like I'm not important. All I asked for was a little training and recognition, but you couldn't even do that. Well, I won't be a bother to you anymore. I have severed all ties with this village and you, Don. Come looking for me because I won't be coming back, ever. If we ever meet again, don't speak to me like I'm your son, you've lost that right. Signed. Formerly Naruto Uzumaki. P.S. Gigi, Itachi ni, Makoto-chan, I'm sorry. After they finished reading, Kushina was now the one in tears and Minato had ran out room to search for Naruto. Little did he know that Naruto was long gone. Earlier that night, Naruto was still in his room crying. After another minute or so he had finished crying. He had decided he's had enough of their abuse and started to pack. He packed everything he needed, clothes, books, and most importantly a charm necklace with an obsidian stone on it and a picture. These two objects were most important to him because they were given to him by two people very precious to him. After he finished packing, he went to the library to get a couple of jutsu scrolls. He decided he would become a world-renowned ninja without them and prove them wrong. He then wrote down 2 notes. One for the Namakazes and one for someone special. He then left the one note and then went out the window towards the street. When he reached the street he saw a woman there. He thought the woman was very beautiful. She had midnight hair that shimmered in the moonlight and she had golden eyes. She had very voluptuous body with a rather large generous bust that would put any woman to shame. She wore a gold yellow dress and had peach lipstick on. She smiled like she had been expecting him. Hello Naruto-kun. Naruto said. Hello, miss. Naruto said nervously. Don't worry sweetheart, I'm not here to take you back. She said. Really? He asked. She smiled. Yes, in fact I'm here to take you away and give you everything you ever wanted, a family. She answered honestly. Really? You can do that? He asked with hope in his eyes. Yes, I'll be your mother and you'll have a father, uncles, aunts, and siblings who will love you more than anything. She told him. After he said that she felt something grabbed onto her tightly. She looked down to see Naruto hugging her with tears coming down from his eyes. He began to say thank you over and over. She looked at him with a motherly smile. So, are you ready to go? She asked. Yeah, but first can we make a quick stop first? He asked. The woman nodded and then snapped her fingers and the two were enveloped in shadows. Uchiha compound. The two had arrived at the Uchiha clan, home to the Uchiha clan, one of the most prominent clans in the Leaf Village. Naruto then looked around and pointed towards a window. The woman snapped her fingers and they appeared inside the room where the window was located. Inside, Naruto saw a young girl with ebony black hair sleeping in her bed. Naruto smiled and went over to her nightstand and placed the second note on it. He then turned and went over to her bedside. He smiled and placed a hand near her ebony locks and brushed a strand hair behind her head. He then leaned down to her ear and whispered something. "Goodbye Satsuki-chan, I promise I'll come back for you," he said with a gentle but serious tone. He then kissed her cheek and went back over to his new mother. She snapped her fingers again and they disappeared in a flash of white light. Outside in the woods, a bright white light flashed in the forest outside the village. The faded and showed Naruto and his new mother in the middle of it. "Took you long enough," a voice said, making Naruto jump. Out of the shadows of the trees came a man with black hair and red eyes wearing a sort of tribal robe. The woman smiled when she saw him. "Hello dear." The man smiled at her. "Hello Liliana." Naruto looked between them. His mother saw the confusion on his face and went over to him to explain it. "Naruto, this is your new father, my husband, Zirf," the now named Liliana explained. That made Naruto's eyes widen. "Hello Naruto-kun," Zirf said, coming over to him. "It's an honor to meet you. I know this might be difficult, but I hope you'll be able to call my two-san someday." Naruto replied by just running over and hugging his new father, who was shocked by this but happy, and hugged his new son back. Quote, "Now then Naruto-kun, are you ready to leave?" she asked. "Yeah," Naruto shouted excitedly. Zirf then waved his hand and a portal opened. Naruto was shocked by this. His mother grabbed his hand and smiled at him. He smiled back. The three then walked through the portal, off to their new home. Chapter end. Chapter 2. In a bright flash a portal had opened and Naruto and his new parents came out of it. Naruto opened his eyes to see that they were standing on what seemed to be a mountain, in front of a huge mansion. It was almost like a castle. Naruto looked back at his parents who were smiling at him. "Chu-san, Ka-san, where are we?" Naruto asked. "We're home, son," Liliana said. "In place called Earthland." "Naruto, we're in another world," Zirf told him. "Another world, really?" Naruto asked, shocked. "Yes, now I think it's time you met the rest of our family," Zirf said. They went up the stairs towards the mansion. The giant doors in front of it they swung opened. They enter it. Naruto was shocked by the interior of it. It like an emperor's palace from the inside. They ended up in a living room where there were two other people in it. One was an adult female. She was just as pretty as Naruto's mother. They were almost identical, only she had cocoa-colored skin, silver eyes, and long dark blonde hair, tied up in a Chinese bun with chopsticks in them. She had a large bust and wore a sort of sleeveless priestess dress and red lipstick. The second was a young boy that looked to be about a year or two older than him. He had dark blonde hair like the woman in the room, but he had emerald eyes and looked to be the same skin color as Naruto. He wore a yellow shirt and blue shorts. The two were sitting on couch looking at them with smiles on their faces. Naruto looked confused, but he was brought out of his thoughts by his mother, who grabbed his hand and walked him over to them. "Naruto, meet the rest of our little family," she said with a happy smile on her face. "This is my sister, Margita, and her son, Eli." "Hello," Naruto said. "Hi there," Eli said with a smile. "Hello Naruto-kun, it's nice to meet you," Margita greeted. "Naruto-kun is the person I told you all about," Liliana told them. "Naruto, this is your new aunt and cousin. It's nice to meet you. I'm happy to be here." "We are happy you are here too," Margita said. "Now that we're all here, we should tell Naruto the truth of who and what we are," Zirf said, coming over. "The truth?" Naruto said, curious. "Honey, sit down, it's a long story," Liliana told him. They all sat down and began to explain to Naruto how they were not ninjas but mages and used magic instead of chakra. Naruto was shocked by what they told him. He thought mages were just stuff of stories and fairy tales, but apparently they were real. They told him how Zirf was ancient dark mage who was very powerful, and how Liliana and Margita were actually dragons, very powerful ones at that. After they were done explaining, Naruto had questions. "Wait, hold on. Mom, you and Aunt Margita are dragons, really?" he asked. They nodded. "Yes, I know you are skeptical, but it's true," she answered. "Here, we'll show you," Margita said. The two got up and went to the far end of the room. They started to glow and grow in size. After the glow faded, in the two women's place, stood two large dragons. One was a eastern dragon with large wings. It was gold all over with white horns, it had red skin on its belly and underside of its wings and had golden eyes that were slit and had whiskers. Its body was large, but thin, and it had a medium long tail. The second one was a western dragon that was silver all over, and it had large wings with a golden yellow underside and a purplish underbelly. With 3 white horns, it had emerald eyes and a pointed snout. Its body was long, sleek and lean, and had a tail with spikes on the end. It also had a spiked color on its neck. Think Cinder in her adult form. The two let out a loud roar. That scared Naruto and made him hide behind his new cousin, who chuckled a bit at that. Naruto, it's okay, it's just our moms. Eli told him. Naruto looked at him. Really? He then looked at the two dragons. Mom, is that you? He asked. Yes honey, it's me. The Eastern dragon said. Sorry if we scared you Naruto, we just wanted to show our true forms. His new aunt answered. The two sisters then reverted back to their human forms and went over to their son's sides. Naruto looked at his mother in amazement. Wow, that was awesome Mom. He said excited. You really are a dragon. Yes, me and my sister are the dragon's queens. She told him. Dragon queens, he said. Yes, you see, me and my sister were born from the dragon god, so we are royalty, and so are you being our sons. She explained. In fact, one of the things we're going to teach you is a magic called Dragon Slayer magic, an art that gives the user the power of a dragon, but also the power to defeat and kill one. Margita told him. And I will teach 2 of my magic as well, black arts and life magic. Also known as white magic. Zirf told him. You'll also have other teachers that will teach you different magics, if you want. Liliana said. Yada. Naruto shouted excited. The others looked at him with smiles on their faces. We start training tomorrow. Right now you need to rest. Zirf said, then turned to his nephew. Eli, can you take Naruto upstairs, and show him to a room? Yes, Uncle Zirf, come on Naruto. Eli said. The two then went upstairs, leaving the adults downstairs. Eli had lead Naruto to a room down the hall. He opened the door and let Naruto in. Naruto was shocked by how nice the room was. It was a major improvement compared to his old one. He was still going to redecorate it so it's more to his liking. Well, here we are. Make yourself at home. Eli said. Naruto turned to him. I will, thanks. Eli smiled and then left to let Naruto get settled. Naruto unloaded his clothes and belongings and then got into his pajamas and ready for bed. Before he turned in though, he got out the picture he took with him and set it by the nightstand. Naruto glanced at the picture. It was a photo of him and a young girl with ebony black hair and dark eyes. She had a smile on her face. He'd remember that day. The two were standing next to each other, smiling, holding hands as the picture was taken by the girl's mother. Naruto smiled at the picture. I miss you already, Satsuki-chan. He said to himself. Naruto laid down in his bed. He was excited. He was given a new home and a new family. And even better, they were going to train him, something he real family would never do. He couldn't wait to start training. Years later. It's been several years since Naruto left the Leaf Village. He had grown strong. Over the past years, they had taught him the basics of magic and different types of magic. Liliana and Margita had taught him Dragon Slayer magic. You see, since both his mother and were the offspring of the dragon god, they had control and mastery over all the known elements and lost elements. They shared most of them but separate ones as well. It was hard at first, but Naruto soon excelled in it. He was also trained along with his cousin Eli. Zirf had taught him black arts and white magic. With those two, Naruto had control over life and death. He had Naruto start off with the basics, then had him trained in more advanced techniques. Naruto hadn't completely mastered them yet, but he was at least halfway through it. His cousin Eli had also trained him a bit. Since Eli was trained a bit before Naruto came, he had helped him with the basics of Dragon Slayer magic. He'd also taught Naruto the basics of another magic he knew, Ice Make. Naruto also learned from him IOUS elemental and non-elemental techniques. He also read books on other magic and taught himself Ice Devil Slayer magic. Naruto also trained himself in other magic as well. He learned how to do requip, sword magic, and chain magic. As well, he also spent time learning the 2 jutsu scrolls he had stolen from the Namikaze's library the night he had left. One was the Shadow Clone Jutsu technique, which helped him learn the techniques faster, and the other was the Rasengan, his former father's prize jutsu. He learned that in a week. He was now working on its completed form. Naruto loved his new family. He had grown bonds with all of them. His parents were more his real parents than Minato and Kushina were. They would always have time for him, and they would spend holidays and go on vacation together. And more importantly, they would talk to him, instead of brushing him off like the Namikazes did. Margita was more of an aunt and godmother than his former godmother, Tsunade Senju. She loved him like a real mother would. Like her sister, most of the time he would go to her for help on his magic and advice when wanted to learn a new one. They were so close sometimes, Liliana would get into arguments with her about her stealing him. Eli was more than a cousin to him, he was his brother. They loved each other like siblings. He was more of sibling than Kasumi was to him back in the Leaf. They were so close they were practically inseparable. Naruto had grown so close to him he told him of his past. Needless to say, when Eli found out what happened that in Konoha, he was beyond pissed. He swore if he ever met them he make them hurt. They were everything his birth family weren't, well, former birth family. After Naruto had been there for a year, his parents and aunt decided to combine their powers to make him their birth son-nephew. He was now Naruto Dragner. Here we are now inside the house, with the 2 boys standing in front of their parents. Naruto was now 14 and Eli was 15. Their parents had trained them in all they could. Now it was time for them to venture on their own in the world. Naruto had grown into a handsome young wizard. He was rather tall for his age and had a nice body build. He was wearing a white tank top with a high-collared black jacket with a red outline. He had on black shinobi cargo pants with blue shinobi boots. Around his neck was the necklace he had been given as child by his best friend Crush. His hair was still spiky but black like Zeref's, and he no longer had blue eyes, they golden like Liliana's. Think Menma. Eli had grown too. He was now a bit taller than Naruto and had a muscle build himself. He wore a red short-sleeved shirt with a flame pattern and had a black sleeveless vest over it. He had on blue jeans with white sneakers. His hair was now smooth out and tied in a ponytail. The 2 brothers were now being hugged to death by their mothers. Their babies were leaving and they didn't want to let go. "Promise me you'll be safe, sweetie?" Liliana asked her son. "I promise, Mom. Now let go." Naruto asked, wanting to be released from his mother's death grip. "Take care, out there, honey." Margita said. "Yes, Mother," Eli said in slight annoyance. The 2 mothers let go with slight tears in their eyes. Their father, uncle, then approached. "Take care, you two. Make us proud." "We will," Naruto stated with a confident grin. "Yeah, and don't worry you guys, we'll see each other in a year soon." The 3 smiled at them. "Before we forget, we have some gifts for you," Zeref said, coming forward with some objects in his hand. He placed on in Naruto's hand and the other Eli's. Naruto had a charm bracelet with a scythe on it and Eli had a necklace that had sword-like a cross on it. "Those charms are weapons that we made from your mother's scales and claws. Just channel magic into it and the weapons will come out. They are very powerful, so you'll have to train with them," he explained. "Awesome," they said together. Liliana came forward with 2 scrolls. She handed one to each of them. "Here are some scrolls containing techniques to go with them and some dragon secret arts we haven't taught you yet," she said with a smile. "Don't worry, we will," Eli said. "Yeah, we'll do you guys proud," Naruto said in agreement. The parents smiled. Then Zeref waved his hands and a portal opened up. He 2 brothers waved goodbye one last time and stepped through it. They were now in the middle of the road with fields of grass next to them. "Well, I guess this is where we part," Eli said with a sad smile. "Yeah," Naruto said with a sad look on his face. Eli bent down and brought Naruto's face up to his level. "Listen to me, no matter where I am, no matter what you do, know I'll always love you," he said, pressing his forehead to Naruto's. The sad look on Naruto's face vanished and was replaced by a smile. "I love you too, big brother," he said. The 2 hugged and then after a moment separated. And then they went their separate ways, off on a new journey. Chapter End. Chapter 3. It's been 3 months since Naruto and Eli had left their parents and went their separate ways. Naruto had journeyed through several towns and villages. He was walking towards his destination, while thinking on a certain matter at hand. He was broken out of his thoughts by voices. "Naruto, are you all right?" someone asked. In her arms was a small brown cat wearing a black vest and it had green eyes. This was Sin, Naruto's exceed partner. He found him as an egg a while back and hatched him and raised him. They had a bond similar to the one he and Eli have with each other. "I'm fine, Lex, just thinking for when we get to Magnolia." Naruto replied, "I can't wait to get into town. I hope they have some yummy sweets there." Sin yelled with a happy smile, "I'm excited too. I can't wait to meet my grandfather." Lexi said excited. When Naruto met Lexi a month ago, it was in a town where the two competed against each other in a competition for a cash prize. In the end they tied and decided to split the money. Naruto and Lexi took the time to know each other. Lexi told Naruto how she was found and raised by the Lightning Demon King, Alistair. She told him how she was abandoned by her father a year after she was born behind her older brother, Laxus. She then told him of how her dream was to join the guild her grandfather was the master of, Fairy Tail. Naruto felt sympathy for the poor girl and had decided to accompany her on way. He too had decided to join Fairy Tail since he got pretty lonely even with Sin by his side. They've been traveling for a few weeks now, and were about 30 minutes away from the town and guild. Fairy Tail Guild. It was a normal day in Fairy Tail. People were laughing, drinking, and chatting happily with each other. The guild was also having their usual daily brawl with each other. "Get out my way, flame brain," a raven-haired man yelled. "Shut it, stripper," a pink-haired man shouted back. "Mon," a large white man shouted, before being knocked out by the other. Everyone suddenly stopped what they were doing when the doors swung open, revealing two individuals. One was black-haired boy with gold eyes and the other was a blonde girl with stormy gray eyes, holding a cat. The two walked through the guild towards the bar. There was a black-haired woman working the bar. "Excuse me, but where is the master of the guild?" Naruto asked. "He's right behind you," Mirajane said with a smile. "Thank you," Lexi said with a smile. They went over to the table, where they saw a short old man with a cane in his hand. He was wearing a tuxedo with pants and a jacket. On his back, this was Makarov Drayar, third master of Fairy Tail. He looked up to see the two Slayer mages looking at him. "Hello, can I help you?" Makarov asked. "Yes, are you the master? We like to talk to you." Naruto asked. "Very well then," Makarov said. The two Slayers followed Makarov to his office and sat down in chairs, while he sat behind his desk. "Now then, what is it you need, young ones?" he asked. "Let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Naruto Dragner, and this is my companion, Lexi Drayar." Naruto said the last part making the old man's eyes widen. "Did you say Drayar, as in my last name?" Makarov said in shock. "Yes," Lexi said getting his attention. "I'm Ivan Drayar's daughter, your granddaughter." Makarov's eyes practically come out of his skull by that. He knew that his son had another child. What he didn't know was what happened to it. He was shocked to see that the girl in front of him was that child. Lexi saw the confusion and state of shock he was in. She moved to speak again, only to be silenced by Makarov when he held up his hand. "No need to explain yourself. I know my foolish son had fathered a daughter. I just never knew what happened to the girl." He told them. "I know. I just really wanted to meet you, grandfather, and..." Lexi started with tears in her eyes. "I know, my child. Don't worry, you are home now," Makarov told her, coming around giving her a gentle hug, which she returned. Naruto smiled at the two, happy for his friend. After a moment the two separated and Makarov looked at both her and Naruto. "Now then, I suppose you and your friend here wish to join Fairy Tail?" He mused. "Yes sir, it's one of the reasons we came all the way here." Naruto told them. "Well then, you are more than welcome to join," he said with a smile. He then got out a stamp. "Now where would you like your marks and in what color?" "I would like it on my hand please, in yellow," Lexi asked with a smile. "And I would like mine to be on my shoulder and gold with a black outline, please," Naruto asked politely. "And I like a black stamp on my back please." Sin yelled excitedly. Makarov stamped them, and a fairy tale mark appeared on Naruto's shoulder, Sin's back, and on Lexi's hand. Now then, let's go meet the rest of our little family. Makarov said. They nodded and the three came out to the second floor, where Makarov jumped on the railing and yelled to the top of his lungs. Listen up, brats. We have 2 new members to our guild. Meet Naruto Dragner and my granddaughter Lexi Drayar. Makarov shouted. Now let's give them a warm fairy tale welcome and party. The whole guild erupted into loud cheers for the 2 new wizards. Everyone started drinking, playing darts, chatting, and overall celebrating the arrival of their 2 newest members. A little while later Naruto, Lexi, and Sin were sitting by the bar drinking some delicious fruit drinks. When 2 individuals came up to them. One was tall pink-haired man that looked to be about Eli's age. He had slanted eyes and was wearing a black vest with pants and he had a white scarf with black stripes around his neck. He was also wearing sandals. The other was a blue cat with a green knapsack and he was also flying. Hey, I'm Natsu Dragneel, he said with a proud smile. And I'm happy. The cat said. Hello, I'm Naruto Dragner, and these are my friends, Lexi and Sin. Naruto greeted. Hi, the other 2 said. Bothering the new members already, Natsu. A voice said. The 4 turned to see 2 other individuals. One was a beautiful, young, red-haired woman, wearing Heart's Crew's armor on the upper half of her chest. She wore brown leggings with black boots and armored shins and knees. She had crystal earrings and a sword on her hilt. The other was a male, who was wearing a white buttoned-up shirt, a cross necklace, and black pants with black shoes. Hi, I'm Gray Fullbuster. The guy introduced. I'm Erza Scarlet. The woman introduced. Hi, I'm Naruto. Naruto greeted. I'm Lexi. Hi, and I'm Sin. It's nice to meet you, always good to see new members. Erza said. If you mind us asking, what type of magic do you use? Gray asked, getting everyone's attention. I'm a lightning devil slayer. Lexi said with a smile. This shocked and confused everyone. Huh, a devil slayer? Gray asked. Yep, they're like dragon slayers only they harness and use the powers of demons and devils. Lexi explained. Everyone nodded in understanding. Naruto then spoke up. I use several types of magic, but my main one is my dragon slayer magic. Naruto said. Everyone's jaw dropped at that. The boy in front of them was a dragon slayer. They thought Natsu was probably the only one. Natsu was probably the most intrigued at the fact Naruto was a dragon slayer like him. Wait a second, you're a dragon slayer? Natsu asked. Yup, and judging by your scent one too, aren't you? Naruto asked. Yeah, who was your dragon? Do you know a dragon named Igneel? My mother's name is Liliana, and I've known of Igneel before. Why? Was he your dragon? Naruto asked. Yeah, I'm his son. Natsu answered. Well, sorry, while I know of him, I don't know where he is if you're looking for him. Naruto told him. Oh, well, in any case, I challenge you to a fight. Nats, you said with a confident grin on his face. Everyone's sweat dropped in annoyance at that. The 3 just blinked at him before Naruto said something. A fight, huh? I accept. He stated proudly. Natsu agreed. NNED and ran outside to the combat field with Naruto behind him. Everyone in the guild went outside to see the fight between the 2 dragons. It wasn't everyone day you a fight between 2 users of such a rare magic. The 2 combatants stood across from each other on the field ready to throw down, each with a confident smirk on their faces. I hope you're ready, cause here I come. Natsu said. N charged at Naruto, who just stood there. Natsu's fist caught on fire and he reared it back. Try this on for size, Fire Dragon Iron Fist. He shouted and then shot his fist forward. Naruto's smirk grew even more and he did the same with his fist, cloaked it in crimson flames and slammed his against Natsu's, making the force send them both back. While Natsu was in a state of shock, Naruto charged his next attack. He inhaled and puffed up his cheeks. Sky Dragon Roar, he shouted. Naruto let loose a powerful tornado that sent Natsu flying back. Naruto saw Natsu on the ground and decided to end this quick. He started to gather up lightning in his hand, which started to form into the shape of a spear. Lightning Dragon Heavenward Halberd, he yelled. He threw the spear at Natsu, and hopped him all over, creating a small explosion of lightning magic. When the smoke cleared they saw Natsu, on the ground, with a couple of scraps and bruises, unconscious. Naruto got a worried look on his face when he looked at Natsu. Hey, are you alright? I didn't overdo it, did I? He asked worried. Natsu groaned as he sat up. I'm alright, but I can't wait to fight you again, he said with an excited grin. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief, then smiled at the fire dragon slayer. Sure, anytime you want, Naruto said. The whole guild suddenly started to clap for the two valiant warriors' match. Gray, Erza, Happy, Sin, and Lexi came over to the two dragon slayers. Nice going, Naruto. It's nice to see Charcoal Breath get his ass handed to him, Gray said smirking. What did you say? Natsu glared. The two were about to fight until Erza intervened. Boys, Erza said, getting a dark aura around her. They ceased their fighting as soon as possible. The other's sweat dropped at that, and Erza turned towards Naruto. That was a great match, Naruto. I hope to test your skills myself, she said. Sure, anytime, anywhere, Naruto replied. Hey, Naruto, how did you do all that? Gray asked. Well, you see, my mother Liliana is one of the two queens of the dragons. They were born from the dragon god himself. Because of that I can use all known elements and lost elements, Naruto explained. Wow, so I guess that means you're lotta stronger than you were in that fight, huh? Gray asked. Yup, I was only using a small fraction of my real power, he stated. In that case, I challenge you to a rematch, Natsu said, running at Naruto only to be stopped by Erza, who punched him unconscious. Sorry about that, Erza said, dragging him away. Everyone blinked and sweat dropped at that before Naruto spoke up. Awkward, Naruto said. At that point everyone had started laughing. Time skip. It's been 5.5 months since Naruto joined Fairy Tail with Lexi and Sin, and he couldn't be happier. Naruto got along with everyone in the guild easy enough. Lexi had some trouble making some friends first, because her older brother Laxus, who was about 2 years older than her, was an asshole to everyone. Speaking of which, Laxus was in denial when he met Lexi. He couldn't believe Lexi was his younger sister. He didn't want to believe it. While Lexi would try to start a relationship with her brother, he wouldn't even acknowledge her. He scowled every time he saw her. Naruto supported his friend and just glared Laxus whenever he made her sad. To Naruto, if Laxus wanted to be like that, then that. Just and Lexi made friends with other mages in their age group besides Erza, Natsu, and Gray. First there was Kana Alberona. She was mage who specializes in card magic, and she was in the guild the longest in their age group. She was also a very heavy drinker. There was also Levi Magarden, the bookworm of the guild, because of her obsession with books and reading. Her magic was solid script magic, and her secondary magic was rune magic. Lastly there was the Strauss siblings, all who which specialize in takeover magic. The oldest was Mirajane, Mira Strauss, who uses Satan's soul takeovers. She was an S-class mage and the rival of Erza Scarlet's. To a lot of people in the guild besides her siblings, she was scary. The second oldest was Elfman Strauss, who uses beast soul takeovers, unlike his sisters, though he can't use full body takeovers. He's always shouting man or saying how he was a real man. Lysina was the youngest, who uses animal soul takeovers. She was easy to get along with because of her bubbly, warm personality. Naruto had grown much as a wizard since he joined the guild. He had rose through the ranks and was almost an S-class wizard. Master Makarov had considered I am an excellent candidate for the upcoming S-class trials in December. Naruto's appearance changed as well. He stood about 5'7". He wore a black sleeveless shirt with a short white jacket. He had black jeans with brown shoes. He still had on the charm bracelet his father gave him and the necklace he got from Satsuki. His eyes were also partially slit, signaling he has almost finished his Dragon Slayer training. Currently we find our black-haired hero sitting at the bar, drinking a fruit drink with Sin on his lap, eating a sweet roll. The two were eating happily when the Strauss siblings came up to the counter. Hey Naruto, Lysina greeted. We just got a new mission. You and Sin wanna come with us? What kind of mission? Naruto asked. S-class, big sis here, said she might need some help, so we're going, Elfman said with his arms crossed over his broad chest. You could learn a thing or two, Naruto. Mira said with a flirty wink. Hey Sin, wanna go on a S-class mission? Naruto asked with a smile. Yeah, he said raising his paw excitedly. We're in, Naruto said. What, you're going on a S-class mission? Natsu shouted running over to them. Yup, Naruto stated with a proud smile. I wanna come too, he said. No, absolutely not Natsu, Erza told him sternly. But Naruto gets to go, why can't I? Natsu questioned whined. Because he's qualified enough for an S-class mission. Erza answered. And I'm not. I'm older than him and been here longer. Natsu protested. Age doesn't matter when it comes to skill and experience, the answer is still no. Erza said strictly. Natsu huffed and then turned back to the Strauss siblings and Naruto. You guys better kick some ass out there. He told them. Sure thing, Naruto said with a proud smile. 3 hours later, Naruto, Sin, Mira, Elfman and Listener were currently walking towards a valley where their objective was. It turns out they had been assigned to get rid of a monster that had been terrorizing nearby villages and towns. It had been attacking people and destroying their homes. The villagers call it the King of Beasts. They had just arrived at the location where the beast was sighted. Keep your guard up, Naruto told them. That thing could be anywhere. They all nodded and got into a defensive stance ready for anything. They kept looking around for any sign of the beast until suddenly they heard a loud roar. Everyone snapped their heads towards the direction they heard the roar. They saw a giant red-skinned monster, with white fur and a green face like a giant ape with yellow horns. Their eyes widened at the sight of the thing. Get ready, here it comes, Naruto said getting into a battle stance. The beast charged at them. When it got in range it raised its giant fists and brought them down. The 4 wizards and cat all jumped out of their way of the attack. Naruto landed from his descent and glared at the beast. Looks like I might need the big guns on this one, he said through gritted teeth. He placed his hand over his charm bracelet, channeled magic into it and brought out the weapon his father gave him. It was big, long, scythe with a red, jagged, curved blade. It was connected to a pole with a silver metal skull on the front top of it with emerald eyes and a glowing green spike on the end. Think Soul Eater Scythe. Naruto brandished the scythe and jumped into the air and he channeled magic into it. Fire Dragon Flame Slash. He slashed the scythe and out came a crescent fire slash at the beast. The attack hit the beast dead on and while it did harm it was still standing. Damn it, Naruto said. The beast charged at Naruto only to distracted by Sin, who was using his arrow magic and Listener who had turned into a large red flamingo, who had been flying around. The beast pecking and clawing it with her beak and talons, Sin was trying to dive bomb it. Naruto eyes widened in shock when he saw this. Sin, Listener, get out of there, he yelled worried for his friends. We're okay Naruto, we just distracting it for Mira, Listener told him. She flew at the monster and when she got close to its face she covered her fist in dark energy. Evil push. Then Lan. Dead a darkness magic infused punch right on its nose sending it staggering back to the ground. The 3 flyers smirked as they got it but that soon faded when it knocked Mira aside sending her crashing to the ground knocking her out of her form. She was lying on the ground with slight cuts and scraps. Mira, Naruto yelled and ran over to check on her. Are you alright? She didn't answer. Sud. NLY the beast let out a roar and ran straight towards them when suddenly Elfman jumped out and grabbed it by the horns, wrestling it to the ground. Suddenly a bright glow and a dark purple magic seal appeared under Elfman and the beast. The glow and seal started to glow like crazy. Soon the glow and seal faded and the beast stood there with no Elfman in sight, but there was something different in its eyes. Mira had gotten up just enough to see the look in its eyes and instantly recognized it. Elfman, she said eyes widen in shock. Mira what are you talking about? Naruto asked as Sin and Listener came down to their level. That's Elfman he's taken over the beast, but something not right, she told them with a worried look in her eyes. I don't think he's in control. This made everyone's eyes widen in shock. They were worried about their possessed friend, but not as worried when Listener started running towards him. Listener, they all shouted. Listener stopped in front of Elfman with her hands and arms stretched out for what seemed to be a hug. Elf, you did it big. Brother, You learned how to do a full body takeover. She told him with a big smile on her face. It's me, your little sister Lysina. What do you we go back to the guild and show everyone your new powers? Elfman said nothing, just looked down at Lysina, who still had her arms open and a hug on her face. We know you were trying to save us. Don't worry, big brother, we still love you. Elfman let out a loud roar as he raised his giant fist and brought it down on top of her. Lysina, Mira yelled, tears coming out her eyes seeing her little sister get about to be crushed. Lysina just stood there in the same position as before, awaiting the life-ending punch, but her and everyone else's surprises, it never came. Elfman's giant fist was stopped by another hand and then suddenly pushed back. Everyone looked to see who the hand belonged to. They saw a tall, young man wearing black jeans, white sneakers, a yellow V-neck shirt with an electric blue short jacket. He had smooth dark blonde hair, tied spiked up a bit with a couple of braids to the side on the back of his neck. He also had a silver sword pendant like a cross around his neck. The figure turned around, allowing everyone to see his face. The figure had azure blue eyes, but even so, as soon as he turned around, Naruto's eyes widened instantly. No way, he said in an utterly shocked tone. The mysterious person looked at Naruto and let a smile grace his face. Hey buddy, miss me? He said. Chapter end. Hey guys, this is me, Redakai 12. I just wanted to say thanks to all my followers and favorite, and I would really like some feedback on this, thanks. Bye. Chapter 4. Hey buddy, did you miss me? The figure asked, smiling at Naruto. Eli, is that you? Naruto asked. Who else would it be, baby? Eli said with a cocky smile. Before anything else could be said, a loud roar got everyone's attention. They saw Elfman get up from the ground with angry look on his face. The beast Elfman started running towards Eli, who got into a fighting stance. I got him, Eli said, getting ready. Eli, wait, he's my friend, don't hurt him. Naruto pleaded. Eli looked Naruto then at Elfman and nodded, then jumped away from the group. Lysina looked back at Naruto, who was watching over Mira. Naruto, you know him? She asked. Yeah, he's my big brother. Naruto answered with a smile. Elfman came close to Eli and raised a fist and brought it down on top of him. Eli dodged by jumping away. Eli landed and looked at Elfman. Listen, big guy, I don't know you and you don't know me. But my little brother doesn't want me to hurt you. So, what do you say you calm down? And Eli was cut off by Elfman slamming his fist down on top of him, only for Eli to jump away again. Eli jumped on top of a boulder above Elfman. Okay, big guy, let's talk about this, face to fist. He shouted. Eli jumped towards Elfman's eye with a black electric charged fist. Black lightning fist. He shouted and punched Elfman in the eye, making him roar and clutch his head in pain. Eli landed on the ground looking at Elfman, who stopped and glared at him in rage. Elfman raised his foot and brought it down, shaking the ground, making Eli lose his balance. Elfman raised both his arms and brought them down. Eli looked and disappeared in a flash of lightning. Eli reappeared in front of the others and looked at Naruto. Hey Nar, I could use some help here, Eli said. Naruto nodded and handed Mira to Lysina, and Sin then ran over to Eli. The two brothers smiled at each other. Han looked at Elfman, who was running towards them. Naruto and Eli inhaled and puffed up their cheeks. Fire Dragon Roar, Naruto yelled. Earth Dragon Roar, Eli shouted. Naruto breathed out a Kree Mson flame blast from his mouth, and Eli let loose a dark brown colored tornado from his. The two attacks hit Elfman at the same time, knocking him off his feet. The two brothers ran towards Elfman, preparing their next attack. Eli held out hands and Naruto jumped on them, while Eli boosted him up in the air. While in the air, Naruto went through a set of hand signs. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he yelled. A second Naruto appeared alongside the original. The two Narutos inhaled again and puffed up their cheeks. Eli punched his fist into an open palm and blue energy started to swirl around his hands. Magic seals appeared in front of all of them. White Dragon Holy Roar, Naruto yelled and let loose a powerful, bright, white roar attack. Shadow Dragon Roar, the clone Naruto said, letting out a powerful tornado of darkness. Ice Make Javelin, Eli shouted, letting loose a barrage of ice lances. The barrage of ice, shadow, and holy light hit Elfman in his head and chest areas. Elfman stood there for a moment. Then fell to his knees and then on his chest. There was a bright purple glow emanating from the down Elfman. The glow faded and the two brothers saw Elfman lying on the ground unconscious. Naruto sighed a breath of relief. It's over, Naruto said. They went over and picked up the unconscious Elfman. Come on, let's get the others and get to town, Naruto said. An hour later, everyone was now at an inn in town. They had a large room with a living room and everything. Elfman was still unconscious in his room. Mira was taking a bath to soothe her wounds and Sin was asleep. The only ones present was Naruto, Eli, and Listener. It's good to see you, Naruto. I missed you, little brother. Eli said with a smile. I missed you too, Eli. Naruto smiled. The two brothers then shared a hug. Listener smiled at the two. Happy for her friend. So you two are brothers? Listener asked. Yeah. Eli's mom is my mother's sister, who's also a dragon queen. He's also a dragon slayer. Naruto explained. We're cousins but we're more like brothers. Eli told her. Oh, so why didn't you come to Fairy Tail with Naruto? Listener asked. Considering the fact we were raised together and were so close. Our parents decided it would be best if we spend some time apart before it was time. Eli said. Time for what? She asked. That's our business, Naruto told her. Listener nodded. Anyway, ever since I've been traveling on my own, joining guilds for a temporary time, coming and going into city, towns and villages, just your regular powerful wandering mage. Eli explained. Oh wow, Listener said. I even made a name for myself out there. They call me, the Silver Dragon. Eli told them. So, I guess you're still strong as ever, Naruto said with a challenging grin. Yup, we can have a spar anytime you want, Eli replied. How about when we get back to the guild? Listener asked. Sure, I might consider joining you guys, gets boring being on my own. Eli told her. Naruto smiled at this. He was excited to have his big brother back. Alright, it's getting late, let's get to bed, Eli said. Alright, good night, they said. They each went to their rooms, getting rest for tomorrow. The next day, everyone had gotten up and eaten breakfast. They had explained everything to Elfman after he had woken up. He had felt guilty about everything but they told him it wasn't his fault and they forgave him for it. They finished breakfast and got ready for the journey back to the guild. On the way, Mirajane and Elfman had decided to get to know Eli better. They were shocked to know that he, too, was a son of a dragon queen and a dragon slayer too. Natsu was going to get kick out of this fairy tale. They had just come back to the guild and entered the building. They saw that once they had broken into another brawl. People, tables, and chairs were flying everywhere. Hey guys, we're back, Listener shouted. Everyone stopped fighting at that moment and started erupting into cheers. They were happy some of their strongest wizards were back. They started congratulating their return and success on the group of wizards had made their way over to the master who was sitting on the bar wearing his wizard saint's attire, which consisted of a white tux with black pants and a white jacket slung over his back. Hello master, we're back from our mission, Naruto greeted. Hello, Naruto, glad to see you made it back safely, he told them. Then Makarov took notice of Eli. Oh, and who might this be? This is Eli, Naruto introduced. Yup, he helped us out on the mission, Mira told him. In that case, you have my thanks for helping my children, Makarov thanked. Eli smiled. It was no trouble at all, anything for my little brother. Brother, the guild shouted. Yeah, Eli's my older brother. Well, he's my cousin, but he's more my brother, Naruto told them. He's a dragon slayer too, Listener told them. Everyone as the guild jaws dropped at that statement, all for the exception of F1 pink-haired dragon slayer who came running up to them. You're a dragon slayer? Natsu asked. Yeah, like my brother, I was raised by a dragon queen too, so I can use all the elements and lost elements too, Eli told him. Then you gotta be strong, fight me, he yelled. No thanks, Eli replied. Too bad, cause here I come, he said. Natsu started running at Eli only for him to embed his East in his gut, making Natsu collapse on the floor in pain. Really? That's it? I expected more from Igneal's boy, Eli said, making Natsu look at him. You know Igneal? He asked. I know of him, I can tell you're his son judging by your scent, You reek of fire magic. Eli told him. Eli then turned back to the master. Master Makarov, I don't suppose you would consider taking a new member, would you? He asked. Why, of course, my boy. Everyone is welcome to join our family. Makarov said. What? A voice shouted. Everyone turned to see a blonder-haired teenager, wearing a yellow shirt, green pants, and black shoes. He was also wearing a pair of lacrima headphones. He had an angry look on his face. Are you serious, old man? You gonna let this weakling join the guild? He shouted. Laxus, Makarov began. No, I'm tired of you allow weaklings to join our guild. Laxus shouted. Hey asshole, Eli shouted. You got a problem with me? Yeah, who do you think are? This guild doesn't need weaklings like you. Laxus said with a sneer. Really? Then I guess the guild doesn't need you considering you're the weakest of us all. Eli shot back. Laxus had an enraged look on his face, then he got a smirk. Tell you what though, you beat me in a match, I let you join the guild. If you lose you get lost. Laxus. That's enough. Makarov scolded. No, it's all right master, I accept his challenge. Eli told them. But when I win, I join the guild and you apologize to the master. Laxus smirked, then turned to Lightning and went outside to the field. Eli and everyone else followed him. Eli and Laxus stood across from each other on the field. Laxus had a cocky look on his face, while Eli had a blank look on his. Hope you're ready to lose. Laxus said. He started generating lightning all around his body. And a magic seal appeared in front of him. Raging bolt. Laxus shot a bolt of lightning from his mouth at Eli, who just stood there with his arms crossed. The attack hit him dead on, creating a small explosion and a puff of smoke. Everyone had worried looks on their faces and Laxus had a sinister smile on his. When the smoke cleared, everyone, especially Laxus, were surprised to see Eli was still standing. There was traces of lightning around him, but other than that, he relatively unharmed. Eli gained a smirk on his face and then he started eating the lightning. Laxus was shocked. No one ever ate his lightning before. After Eli ate the lightning, he puffed up his cheeks. Night Dragon Roar, he shouted. Eli shot from his mouth a dark purple tornado covered in traces of lightning magic. The roar went towards Laxus, who just stood there with a shocked look on his face. The attack hit and creating a bigger explosion than before. After the dust cleared, they saw Laxus on the ground unconscious and badly injured. Eli smirked. Looks like I win, he declared. Everyone was shocked by what happened. Laxus actually lost, and to a newcomer no less. Eli went over to Laxus, who was starting to get up, and bent down and grabbed him by the scruff of his shirt. Now apologize, he said in a threatening tone. Laxus gritted his teeth and trembled under his gaze. He opened his mouth and spoke. I'm sorry, he said. Eli dropped him and went back over to the guild, who had their jaws practically falling out of their mouths. Eli had a confused look on his face when he saw this. What? He asked. Eli, did you know what you did? You beat Laxus, and he's an S-class wizard. Mira told him. S-class, him, Eli said skeptically. Why yeah, he's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, and you just beat in one blow. Elfman said in a shocked tone. Well, he must not be too strong if he couldn't take a hit like that. I only put 2% of my power into that. He said. You still don't hold back too much, do you? Naruto said with a smirk. Eli returned the smirk. Nope. Their jaws dropped even lower. He wasn't even trying when he fought Laxus. They couldn't believe it. Makarov on the other hand was grinning like a madman. He was thinking how lucky he was to find not one, not two, but 3 dragon slayers, 2 of which were extremely powerful. He was broken out of his thoughts when Eli came up to him. Master, can I have my mark now? Eli asked in a polite tone. Yes, of course. Makarov then got out a stamp. Now where would you like it and what color? Eli rolled up his sleeve. Right here, in flame red. He asked, pointing to his shoulder. Makarov stamped him on his shoulder and there was now a reddish-orange fairy tail mark on his shoulder opposite of Naruto's. Eve, Ryon started cheering for their new addition. We have 3 dragon slayers now. One guild member shouted, and 2 of them are really powerful. Another member added, such a powerful magic and we come across it. Another one shouted. During the commotion, Naruto and Mira had come up to Eli. Naruto fist bumped his older brother. "Welcome to the family, big bro." Naruto congratulated. Eli smiled. "Thanks, it's good to be here." Mira then came up and surprisingly gave him a hug. Eli was shocked by this but returned it nonetheless. After a moment they separated. "Thanks for saving my little brother," she said with a smile. "Anytime," he replied. Mira then went over to Naruto and gave him a hug and then a kiss on the cheek. "And thank you too, Naruto," she said with a wink. Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head. "And no problem," he said. Eli chuckled at the sight a bit when he came over. The three mages looked towards the rest of the guild, as they continued to cheer and celebrate the arrival of their new guild mate. They all smiled at the sight. "I think I'm going to like here," Eli commented. Chapter End. Chapter 5. A year has passed since Naruto and Eli joined Fairy Tail. Eli had gotten relatively along with everyone in the guild, especially those his age. Eli had gotten to know each and every one of them. The ones he got along the most with were Natsu, Lexi, Ezra, and Gray. Naruto had gotten stronger during the past few months. A couple of months ago, Naruto had went through the S-class exams, and went toe-to-toe with Erza Scarlet. The two wizards had an epic clash, but in the end Naruto had come out on top. After Naruto had completed the S-class trials, he was made an S-class mage by Makarov. Eli was already an S-class mage. He became one when he joined a guild for a temporary time. He had also already finished his Dragon Slayer magic, so during his time in the guild he helped Naruto finish his training as well. He had also implanted a Dragon Lacry Ma inside Naruto, making him a third-generation Dragon Slayer, making it easy for him to access Dragon Force. Natsu had learned to use fire spells outside of his Fire Dragon Slayer magic. Naruto had also finished the Rasengan. He had learned how to add wind chakra to the jutsu. Within a week he had completed the Rasengan. Eli had asked Naruto to teach him the Rasengan, which he did, but it was difficult to learn. 'Cause he didn't have any chakra at all. But thanks to Naruto's lessons he had learned to use magic instead of chakra to make it. Naruto's relationship with Mirajane had grown as well. Ever since the mission, where Elfman had lost control of his magic when he tried to take over the King of Beasts, Mirajane had developed a tiny crush on him. Mirajane had even made him lunch at times and asked him out on a date, which he accepted. Naruto is now considering making her one of his wives, considering the fact his mother and aunt told him since both he and Eli were the sons of the Dragon Queens. They were considered the Dragon Princes and are able to take more than one wife. He was considering it, but not before Satsuki, back in that place, as he called it. Naruto and Eli's lives were never better. The brothers had made friends, family, during their time in the guild. They had made close bonds with a lot of people, except for Laxus, who was still kind of a jerk. Naruto and Lee had a close bond with Natsu considering the fact he was a Dragon Slayer. The three had go on missions with each other, the most out of everyone else. They now call themselves the Triple Dragons. Naruto and Eli had earned a moniker of their own. The guild and everyone else called them the Twin Dragons of Fairy Tail. Currently, Naruto and Eli were outside in the woods training. They stood across from each other. They were covered in scraps, cuts, and slight bruises, panting heavily as they faced down. Naruto dug his feet into the ground and took off across the field. He cloaked his fist in crimson flames. "Fire Dragon Iron Fist," he shouted, then shot his fist towards Eli, who brought his arms up in a block. The force of the collision sent them both back. Naruto regained his bearings and charged at him. Eli got into a defensive stance. Eli started blocking every punch and kick Naruto threw at him. Eli saw then opening and grabbed Naruto by his arm. He then brought him forward, spun around and delivered an axe kick, which Naruto expertly dodged. Naruto then jumped back and went through a set of hand signs. Quote, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," he shouted. Another Naruto appeared beside the original. The two Narutos raced towards Eli, who was making his next move. "Flame Phoenix Strike," the clone shouted. A magic seal appeared and out came 5 firebirds that went towards Eli. "Ice Make Shield," Eli shouted. He then slammed his hands on the ground and a circular shield of ice with a cross on it came out of the ground. The phoenixes hit the shield and exploded on impact, breaking away most of it. The real Naruto appeared behind him with a sword made of fire pointed at his neck. Eli smiled. All right, I give. Naruto grinned victoriously. Thanks for the spar, Eli. I really needed to practice. Naruto said. Yeah, I know. Aunt Liliana will be coming soon, Eli said, noticing the look on Naruto's face. It's finally time. I'm ready more than ever, Naruto said with an determined look on his face. Let's get back to the guild. Eli nodded. The two brothers then made their way back to the guild, prepared for their upcoming journey back to the Leaf Village. Fairy tale. The two brothers made their way into the guild, dressed in new attire. Naruto was now 15 and 5 feet 11, and his hair had gotten longer as well. It now reached the sides of his face. His eyes had also changed since he finished his Dragon Slayer training. They were slit like a dragon's eye. He also had a very muscular build and his face was void of baby fat. He also changed clothes. He now wore a red shirt and a dark purple jacket with a hood over it. He wore black jeans and white sneakers. Eli was now 16 and 6 feet 0 and still had his azure blue eyes, and they were slit. His hair was now spiked up with a small ponytail in the back. Think Haru's hairstyle from Fairy Tail. He wore a purple V-neck shirt under a black jacket with fur lining. He had blue jeans with a belt buckle and black shoes. Eli was also very built. In retrospect, both were very handsome dragon slayers. Natsu had also changed. He was now about the same height as Eli and he had changed his attire as well. He wore the same shoes and pants. But he now wore an open-collared, one long-sleeved, waistcoat. He had on a black wristband on his right wrist and he still wore the scarf Igneel gave him. Hey guys, how's it going? Naruto asked. It's good, Lexi replied. You two were gone for a while, what were you doing? Erza asked. We were practicing for something important. What's so important? Natsu asked. Well, Naruto began. He was interrupted by a flash of light that startled the guild. When it faded, there stood a beautiful, white-skinned woman with hair black as midnight, wearing a black sleeveless dress that showed her figure. She also had red lipstick on. The men in the guild were drooling at the sight of goddess-like woman. Mom, Aunt Liliana. The woman turned her attention to Naruto and Eli and smiled. A blur ran past the Fairy Tail wizards as she made her way over and she hugged the life out of the both of them. Naruto, oh my sweet baby boy, she said, kissing his forehead, leaving a smear of lipstick on it. Mom, Naruto protested. Liliana then turned her attention towards Eli and started kissing his forehead and hugging him as well. There's my favorite nephew, she said. Hi Aunt Liliana, he groaned. The dragon let go of her nephew, who were wiping lipstick off their foreheads. It's good to see you boys, look at how handsome the two of you are. Liliana said. We know we missed you too. Naruto said. Naruto. Eli, who's this? Erza asked. Oh, this my mother, Liliana, the Dragon Queen. Naruto answered. Wait, the Dragon Queen, as in the dragon who raised you? Lexi asked. Yup. Everyone in the guild was shocked. This beautiful woman was a dragon. And not just any dragon but the Queen of Dragons. You're a dragon? Natsu asked, running up to her. Yes, I am son of Igneel. She told him. Do you know where Igneel is? Tell me. Natsu demanded. This got him a smack upside the head from Naruto and Eli. Natsu, show my mom some respect. She's the queen of all dragons. Naruto scolded. It's all right, son. Now then Natsu, I do know where your father is, but I cannot tell you where he is. Liliana told him. Why not? Natsu yelled. Because he's in a meeting that all dragons have to attend. The Dragon King Festival, Liliana answered. What? If it's something like that, then why didn't say anything or take me with him? Natsu asked. Your father ovies you very much, but all dragons are forced to leave their children, no matter how much they don't want to. Liliana said. Natsu sadly nodded at that. Liliana then turned back to her son and nephew. Boys, it's time, she told them. They nodded. We know, we're ready to go. Well, let's get a move on, she said. This got everyone's attention. Wait, Naruto, where are you and Eli going? Ezra asked. We're going home, Naruto said. Home? Not in the sense you're thinking. Sit down, it's a long story. Eli said. Naruto then told them of how he was not from Earthland but from another world. They have ninjas instead of mages and chakra instead of magic. He told of the night his former parents and sister did what they did, which caused Zirf and Liliana to come and take him away from Konoha. After Naruto was done explaining his story, the guild was shocked and angry. They were shocked to know Naruto was not only the son of a dragon queen, but the son of the black wizard Zirf himself. They were also angry and shocked of how Naruto's former family and the rest of the village treated him. They were angry at the Namakazes for what they did, none more so than Natsu, Erza, Lexi and Mirajane. So that I'm going back to the leaf, Naruto said with an emotionless look, but they could sense a lot of anger behind it. I'm going to settle the score in the Chunin exams. And I'm going with him. In case anything happens, Eli said. Makarov thought about for a moment then spoke. I see, well then you two go. He told them. But boys, when you get there, make sure you show them the power of fairy tale. He shouted, getting roars from everyone in the guild. Show them what happens when you mess one our own. The two brothers nodded and smiled. Thank you master, we'll make you proud. Naruto said determinedly. And we're coming with you. Natsu said with a smirk, as he, Happy, Sin, and Lexi came up. Natsu. Erza started. Hey, the triple dragons got to stick together. And besides I want to show those leaf jerks what fairy tale can do. Natsu told him. Me too. Lexi said with a smile. Natsu, you're not. Erza said. Okay Natsu, you can come. Naruto said, making Erza look at him. He's right. And we can see how far along his powers have gotten. Naruto said. Eli looked at her. Besides, we could use the help. He told her. Erza blushed a little when Eli looked at her. A while after he joined the guild, Erza had gained a crush on him. It grew the more time he spent with her. She couldn't say no to him, even if she tried half the time. Naruto turned his attention back to Master Makarov. Master, will you let Natsu and Lexi come with us? Naruto asked. I suppose so, just make sure you keep on them. Makarov replied. Don't worry, master, I'll keep these three knuckleheads in line. Eli told him, putting his arms around Naruto's, Lexi, and Natsu's shoulders. Hey, they shouted irritated. Well, kids, let's get going. Liliana said. All right, let's go Happy. Natsu yelled excitedly. Sir. Happy said, flying over. They went over to Liliana, who was waiting patiently. They turned and waved goodbye to their guild mates, who waved back, yelling and cheering goodbye. Good luck, you four. Lysina shouted. Win this for fairy tale. Gray shouted. The four mages and the dragon queen disappeared in a flash of light, leaving fairy tale and Earthland behind. Somewhere else, unknown to fairy tale, there was someone observing them. In a what seemed to be some sort of dark medieval castle, were watching them through a lacrima orb. The person was sitting on a throne and was hard to make out since they were clouded in shadows, but dodging from their figure and posture they could tell it was a man. He seemed to be wearing black and purple armor with black combat boots. On his back was a red cape. You couldn't see his face, but he had red glowing eyes. It seems the sons of Liliana and Margita are going to the elemental nations. I wonder why. The male asked, narrowing his red eyes. She had a smile on her face. Hi daddy, she said, then kissed his cheek. Hello dear. You couldn't tell, but he had a smile on his face as he looked at his daughter. Aren't you supposed to be training? Quote, oh, come on daddy, no one can come to my level of power and skill. She said, sitting on the arm of his throne. She then looked at Lacrima Crystal and her eyes widened when she saw Eli. She then saw another boy and summarized that was Naruto. He's going back, isn't he? She asked. Yes, I believe so. The man said. Can go meet him there daddy. Pretty please, she begged. The man saw how the look on her face and sighed. Fine dear, but take some of your pets with you, I don't want you getting into trouble. Quote, the girl giggled a little. Don't worry, it's me, what could go wrong? The girl then went out the door of the throne room. Outside in the hallway the girl was walking towards her room. She was thinking about what to bring besides her pets. When she came to a mirror, she stopped and looked herself over. She shook out of her thoughts and went to get ready for her trip to the Leaf. Near the Konoha's gates, a ball of light appeared outside the Leaf village's gates, near the trees, and from it were the 4 slayers, exceeds, and dragon. The dragon queen turned towards them. "Okay kids," Liliana snapped. Her fingers and a folder of documents appeared in her hands. "Here are documents containing your names, ranks, and missions," she said, handing them to Naruto. Liliana had a smile on her face as she looked at them. "Well boys, it's time I left," Liliana said, hugging them one last time. "Make me proud." "Don't worry mom, we will," Naruto said with a grin. "You look after them okay," Liliana said towards the others. "We got their backs," Lexi said with a smile. She smiled and then disappeared into shadows. The group of wizards and cats made their way to the gate where they saw 2 Chunins guarding it. Naruto had his hood on as to not halt. "State your name and business," one of them told them. "We're here for the Chunin exams. My name is Eli Dragner." Eli told them. "Natsu Dragneel, Lexi Drayar, Naruto Dragner." That last name got them to raise eyes at them, as the name sounded familiar to the missing son of the 4th Hokage. They looked at Naruto from under his hood, to see a GHT resemblance between him and Minato, only his was altered a bit and he had black hair and gold eyes. They were broken out of their thoughts by Happy. "And I'm Happy and this is Sin," the cat introduced. "Hi," Sin said. They looked at them in bewilderment. "They're our summonings," Naruto answered. The 2 Chunin just shrugged and stamped their papers and led on their way. They made their way into the village, looking around at everything, noting how different but similar it was to Earthland. They walked for about 5 and then stopped to decide on what they should do. "Well Naruto, what should we do first?" Lexi asked. "Well, first we need to find somewhere to sleep, and lucky for us, I know a place," Naruto said. "Lead the way," Eli said. They made their way down the street, when they came across an alleyway with 6 individuals. Some of them he couldn't recognize. The other 2 were a boy in what seemed to be a cat suit wearing face makeup. He also had a large bundle on his back. The other was a girl with blonde in pigtails and she had a giant fan on her back. They were both wearing sand shinobi headbands and assumed they were from Suna. 3 of them were Leaf Genin. One was a girl with pink hair wearing an apron on her skirt and a pink shinobi cloth on her front. The other was a boy with raven hair and dark eyes, but Naruto recognized him as soon as he saw him. That was Sasuke Uchiha, Satsuki's twin brother. He was wearing a black shinobi cargo pants, sandals, and a black shinobi shirt with the Uchiha clan crest on the back. If you asked Naruto, he was probably still an emo prick. The third one made Naruto scowled. It was his former sister, Kasumi. "Let Konohamaru go," Kasumi demanded. "This brat bumped into me," the boy said. "Kankuro, let the kid go," the girl said. "No way Tamari, not till I teach this brat some manners," Kankuro said. "Who the hell does this jerk think he is?" Lexi said. "That coward," Natsu said angrily with his fists clenched. "Let's put a stop to this," Eli said. "Right," Naruto agreed. Kankuro was about to punch Konohamaru, until someone from behind grabbed his wrist and gripped it tightly. Kankuro looked to see a dark-haired teenager with his hand around his wrist, looking at him with a dark, cold glare. "Let the kid go," Naruto said in a threatening tone. "Why should I?" he asked, trembling under Naruto's gaze. Then I appeared next to him with a sword made out of ice pressed to his neck, scaring him. "Because if you don't, you going to lose your stupid little head, makeup boy," Eli said in a mocking tone. The sand shinobi let go of the boy, who ran as fast as he could. Terrified, he went over to his sister Tamari. "Now then, I believe there's one more pest here," Eli said. "You're right big bro, you know it's not nice to spy on people. So come on out," Naruto demanded. In a nearby tree, they saw a red-haired boy with a gourd on his back, surrounded by sand. Both of the sand shinobi looked at the boy and were instantly scared out of their minds. "Gaara, how long have you?" "Kankuro, shut up or I'll kill you," he said in a harsh tone, making him Kankuro nod. Gaara then looked at Eli and Naruto with slight interest in his cold eyes. What are your names?" Sasuke smirked, thinking he was talking to him. "Sasuke Uchiha, they are unimportant. I was not speaking to you," Gaara said in a cold tone, making Sasuke shut up. "I'm Naruto Dragner," Naruto said. Kasumi looked at him with wide eyes. Oni-chan, is that you? She thought. I'm Eli Dragner. Eli greeted. Naruto and Eli Dragner, I look forward to seeing you both in the exams. Gaara said. He then looked at Temari and Kankuro. Temari, Kankuro, we're leaving, now. He said, making them nod. He disappeared into sand and his two siblings followed him. Naruto and Eli turned around to see the three genin looking at them. The pink-haired girl and Kasumi were looking at him in bewilderment. Sasuke on the other hand was glaring at them, not that it affected them. The two ignored them and made their way back to their teammates. Sasuke saw them leave and tried to stop them. Hey, who are you? He demanded. They ignored him. I said who are you? He tried again. Just ignore him. Naruto told his brother. I am a Uchiha, and you will. Sasuke was cut off by someone punching him in his head. Sasuke, you baka, what did you think you're doing? A voice shouted. Everyone turned to see who the voice belonged to. Naruto's eyes widened as soon as he saw who it was. The voice belonged to young teenage girl, who in Naruto's mind was one of the beautiful girls he ever seen. She had on a dark blue, sleeveless, t-shirt with the Uchiha crest on the back. She had a blue skirt on with fishnet leggings. Her hair was short and she had a slight braid that went over her left shoulder. Her headband was tied around her right arm. She had a tanto strapped to her thigh. The girl also had on blue lip gloss and a necklace similar to Naruto's. This was Satsuki Uchiha, the princess of the Uchiha clan. Satsuki, the pink-haired girl said. I swear, you can't. Satsuki Uchiha, Naruto said, getting her attention. Yes, hello, she said. It's good to see you again. Naruto said. Been a long time. Satsuki looked at him in confusion. Do I know you? She asked. Yeah, he said, reaching for his hood. You do. Satsuki gasped and her hands flew up to her mouth as soon as he took off his hood, so did Kasumi's. He revealed his black hair, gold eyes, and face. He looked different but he had a face similar to the fourth Hokage's. And Naruto, Satsuki said with tears in eyes. Naruto just nodded at her. Kasumi also had tears in her eyes. Oni-chan, you're back, she said, coming up to him. Don't call me that, he said with a cold tone, making her stop. I am not your brother anymore. Kasumi just looked him and then dropped her head to the ground in tears. Goodbye Satsuki, I'll see you at the exams, Naruto said as he turned to leave with Eli behind him. Satsuki broke out of her thoughts and raced after him. Naruto-kun, wait, she called out. She was too late though, he and the others had disappeared in a flash of lightning. Street. Optin looked around for any sign of him, but no luck. She stopped and clutched her necklace tightly. Ever since he left the Leaf Village she had been heartbroken. She spent days in her room crying. When she wasn't, she was training, promising herself to bring him back if she ever saw him again. He's back, he's really back, Satsuki said to herself with tears and a smile on her face. Chapter end. Chapter 6. The group of wizards and exceeds were treading through the forest heading towards their destination. They had been quiet most of the way there, until Natsu broke the silence. So Naruto, was that girl your former sister? Natsu asked. Yes, Naruto replied. Are you okay? Lexi asked. I'm fine Lexi, he told her. Who? Natsu began until Naruto stopped. We're here, Naruto said. They stopped right in front of large mansion-like house with a symbol on the front. It was 3 swirls together, facing opposite directions. Naruto walked up to the front door and knocked on it. The front doors opened, revealing an elderly man with grayish-white hair on the sides of his head. He also had a smoke pipe in his mouth. This was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the former 3rd Hokage. Hello, how can I? Naruto, he said in a shocked tone and wide eyes. Naruto smiled at the old man. Hi Gigi, I missed you. The next thing you knew, the old man rushed forward and hugged Naruto, which he returned. After a moment they separated. It's good to have you back, Naruto, Hiruzen said with a smile. It's good to be back, Naruto replied. He then turned to his teammates. Gigi, these are my friends. Hello there, he greeted. Hi, they said back. Well, come on in, let's have some tea, Hiruzen said. They all went inside the house. All of them were sitting by a wooden table, drinking tea, eating cookies, and chatting idly. Naruto had spent the last hour explaining to Hiruzen where he went the night the Namakazes rejected him like they did. To say the least, Hiruzen was blown out of his mind by what Naruto had been through. His surrogate grandson was raised by two entities that were supposedly gods in their own right and taught ancient powerful skills by them as well. He was also very angry at Minato and Kushina for what they did to Naruto. "Minato, you fool, your actions have driven your only son away," he thought, cursing his successor. "So, you are Naruto-kun's brother Eli?" Hiruzen asked. "Yes, I am. Naruto has been a blessing to our family," Eli said with a genuine smile. Naruto smiled and blushed at his brother's comments. "I've missed you, Naruto, but I wish you had left me a note before you left," Hiruzen said. Naruto rubbed his neck sheepishly. "Yeah, sorry Gigi, I just couldn't take it anymore." "I understand Naruto-kun, I'm just glad you're alright," Hiruzen reassured him. "By the way, I saw Satsuki. She's not too mad at me, is she?" he asked. "She was heartbroken when you left, but I think she was more angry by your absence," Hiruzen told him. "Shit, I knew I should have sent a postcard or something," Naruto thought, cursing himself. Naruto then sighed. "I guess I should go see her then." "That's a great idea, Naruto, but you might wanna wear a helmet," Hiruzen told him. The others laughed at that comment. Naruto gulped. "Yeah, guess you're right. I'll come with, just in case anything happens," Eli said, getting up. Naruto nodded. "Right, let's go." The two brothers exited the house and headed towards the Uchiha complex. About 10 minutes of walking in the woods, using their enhanced senses they knew they were being followed. They also noticed a couple of shadowy figures in the trees. After another minute, they got tired of being followed and stopped to confront them. "All right, we know you're following us, so come on out," Naruto said, annoyed. 6 leaf ninjas came out. 5 of them were wearing the same armor and all had animal masks. Those were Anbu Black Ops. The 6th Naruto recognized as Minato's former student, Kakashi Hatake. "What did you want?" Eli said, narrowing his eyes. "Naruto, Sensei wishes to see you," Kakashi said with an emotionless expression. "Pass," he replied. "Naruto, please, Sensei wishes to make things right," Kakashi said. "Still doing his dirty work, Hatake. I thought you killing Rin would have changed you by now," Naruto said, getting wide eyes from Kakashi. "How do you?" Kakashi but was silenced when Naruto appeared behind him and delivered a swift chop to his neck, knocking him out. The Anbus were shocked and took defensive stances. "Namikaze-sama, please, your father only wishes to." The male Anbu was pierced by a sword made of lightning by Eli. 2 others were subdued by chains made of shadows. 1 was incinerated by flames, leaving 1 purple-haired Anbu left. "Naruto-sama, please don't," she was cut off by a nch to the stomach, sending her flying into trees. "Well, that was pathetic, let's go," Eli said. The 2 then left the pathetic leaf ninja unconscious, onto the Uchiha compound. The Uchiha compound. Naruto stopped in front of the door and knocked. It opened to reveal a beautiful woman with raven-haired locks and dark eyes. "Hello, how, Naruto," she yelled and rushed forward to hug him. "Hi, Makoto-chan," Naruto said, hugging her. Makoto then noticed Eli. "Oh, who's this?" "This is my brother, Eli," Naruto said. "Hello there, it's nice to meet you," Eli greeted. "Well, come in," she pleaded. They were now in the house, sitting idly by the table, in the living room. "So, when did you get back, Naruto?" Makoto asked her surrogate son. "Today. Sorry I didn't come by sooner," he apologized. "Oh, who cares? I'm just glad you're home," Makoto said. "I hope you've been taking care of him," Makoto told him sternly. "Don't worry, I have, though he is a handful," Eli chided. "Oi, that's not true, Eli," he shouted. The just laugh at Naruto's reaction. They were interrupted by Satsuki entering the living room. "Ka-san, have you seen Naruto?" Satsuki screamed. Hey, Satsuki-chan," he said nervously. The girl just stared at him in shock, then broke out of it and had angry look on her face. She went forward, grabbed him by his shirt and dragged him outside to the training grounds. Eli just looked at what happened, shrugged, and headed outside. "You jerk," Satsuki screeched. The next thing you heard was the sound of someone being hit and Naruto grunting in pain. Naruto was on the ground, holding his cheek in pain. Naruto looked up to see Satsuki, with an angry look on her face. Hey, do you think you could, get off my little brother, ha ha. Eli said between laughs. Satsuki stopped and looked at him. She then looked back at Naruto and saw she was suffocating him against her chest. Oh, she said then let go. Naruto sucked in air, as his face was blue from being almost suffocated. He also had blue lip gloss kiss marks all over his face. Sorry, guess I got carried away, she said with an embarrassed blush on her face. She then turned back to Naruto with a worried, annoyed, and less angry look on her face. Naru-kun, where've you been? You were gone for years. She asked demanded. Sorry Satsuki-chan, I just couldn't take being neglected anymore. Naruto said. Satsuki sighed. I just glad you're back. I missed you. I missed you too, Naruto said getting up. Satsuki got up and hugged him again, which he returned. They were interrupted by an ahem. They looked and saw Eli with a smirk on his face. The two saw what he was looking at and separated with blushes on their faces. Oh hello, who are you? That's Eli, my big brother. You have a brother? Satsuki asked. We're actually cousins, but I see Naruto as my younger brother, so he is. Eli told her. Well, it's nice to meet you Eli, I'm Satsuki Uchiha. She greeted. I know, Naruto told me about you. You were the one thing he wouldn't shut up about. Eli told her with a grin. Eli, Naruto said with an embarrassed blush. Oh, you've been talking about me, Naru-kun. She asked with a sly grin. It's not like that Satsuki, I swear. Naruto said. Oh please, boy you talk about her like she was the earth and heaven to you. Eli continued. Shut up, Naruto yelled angrily. The just laughed at I am and Naruto just angrily walked back into the house, with the two laughing ninja and mage behind him. Next day. The next morning, Naruto, Eli, and their team made their way to the building where the exams would be held. Oh yeah, I'm all fired up, Natsu shouted. You sure are happy, Lexi said with a grin. Heck yeah, we gonna show these loser who's boss, right Happy? Natsu said. Sir. Happy agreed. Alright you guys, let go, Eli said. The group of wizards made their way into the building. They went up the stairs towards the exam room, where they saw a group of kids in front of the door. They saw a boy in green spandex and bowl-cut haircut on the ground. He was also sporting a bruise. In front of the door, there were two boys. Please, let us through so we can take the exams. He pleaded. Take our advice kid, just go home. One of the boys said. Yeah, this ain't for the faint of heart. The other said. Naruto and Eli rolled their eyes and went forward, with the others behind them. The kids in front saw them and as Naruto reached for the door handle, they intercepted him. Hey, didn't, he was cut off by Naruto grabbing him by his shirt and forcing him up against the wall. Hard making a small crack in it. The other saw this and tried to help his friend only to be grabbed by the throat by Eli. Hey, we're just kidding, can't we have some fun once in a while? He said nervously. Naruto smirked coldly making him pale. Sure, if you like being fried, that is. He emphasized his point by charging his hand with lightning, scaring him even more. Get out the way, now, Naruto demanded. Naruto and Eli then dropped the two genin, who turned out to be the two Chunin from the front gates. They got up and left in a hurry, not wanting to test Naruto's patience. The wizards and cats then made their way inside. When they got inside they saw a room full of stairs from all the other genin. This would normally make a genin pale with fear, but to a powerhouse group of slayer mages, they just insects trying to scare a hungry lion. They just ignored the stairs and went over to a group of genin. Naruto saw Satsuki which made him smile at, but frown when he saw Kasumi. She smiled at him, so he gave her a death glare which her look at the ground in shame. One boy with a hood and dog on top of his head was currently checking out Lexi, who ignored him. Hey baby, wanna go out sometime? He said with a cocky grin. Go away, dog boy, she said in annoyance. Come on, you know you want me. Kiba continued. Hey mutt, the lady said back off. Eli said coming over. And who are you, her boyfriend? He said still looking with a smile. I'm her friend, Now back off or else. He said in a cold tone. And who are you, Mr. Hotshot? Kiba yelled. In a flash, Lee grabbed Kiba and shoved him against wall, making a crack in the wall. He then charged his hand with lightning and shocked him repeatedly, making him cry in pain. Eli let him go and he dropped to the ground, leaving him paralyzed. Next time, I'll kill you and your dog, he said, walking back. Lexi gave him a grateful smile as he walked by, which he returned. Everyone looked in shocked. They were broken out their thoughts by a new individual. You should probably keep it down, a voice said. They turned to see a boy wearing glasses and purple shinobi top in front of them. Who are you? Sakura asked. My name is Kabuto Yakushi, he introduced. He then told them how this is his 7th time taking the exams and how he has information on every ninja taking the exams with something called ninja info cards. This got Naruto and Eli curious of how he had something like that. Tell me about Naruto and Eli Dragner, Sasuke said, getting looks from the two. Let's see. It's say from their mates are Natsu Dragneel and Lexi Drayar, and they're from a village called Fairy Tale. He said. That's a stupid name, Sakura said before she was shut up by Satsuki, who punched her on the head. Don't insult Naruto-kun, you bitch, she yelled. As I was saying, these two have. Holy shit, he said, getting everyone in the room attention. It says here they've all done 20 D ranks, 20 C ranks. He was cut off by Sasuke. So, we've all done C and D rank missions, Sasuke said with a smirk, thinking he was better. I'm not done. They also done 10 B ranks, 10 A ranks, and 15 S ranks, he yelled. Everyone was shocked and had their jaws dropped, except for Sasuke, who, glaring at them in anger and jealousy, Naruto, Eli, and the rest of their team had smirks on their faces. Kabuto then spoke up again. Wait, there's more. It's said these two are what's called S-class, which is the equivalent of ADSS rank ninja, he said with spit coming out his mouth. They're also known as the Twin Dragons of Fairy Tale, for their amazing power that resembles that of a dragon. It also says they should not be engaged on sight, ever, he said. Everyone just looked at them in fear and shock. Why are those two that strong? I'm the only one who deserves power, Sasuke thought angrily. Wow, Naruto-kun's amazing, Satsuki thought with a blush and a giddy smile as she looked at Naruto. Note to self. Don't mess with these guys, the other genin thought. Suddenly Naruto came up to him and grabbed him by his throat and slammed him against the wall. Kabuto looked at him to see he had a smirk on his face and he was holding up his info cards. He lit his hands on golden fire and burned them to a crisp. Okay, I think that's enough, and you're lucky I don't report you, pal, Naruto said, letting go of him. Suddenly a puff of smoke came from the front of the classroom. When it cleared, there was a group of Chunin proctors, and in the middle was a large man with a bandana on. Alright, listen up, brats. Stop your rambling and sit down. Everyone took their seats and the protectors passed out the exams papers and everyone took their test. An hour later. Time skip. I did it because the first part of the Chunin exams in boring. The wizards and the remaining genin were now in the second stage of the exam, survival in the forest of death. They were all standing in front of the gate where a woman named Anko was explaining the objective of the exams. Alright, the objective is to survive 5 days in the forest. Each team is given a heaven scroll or earth scroll and both teams are required to possess both scrolls before they reach the forest in 5 days. She explained. PFF, what a lame exam, Natsu said. Oh, feeling brave, huh? Anko said with a smirk. She then threw kunai, which he dodged. She then reappeared behind him with a kunai at his cheek. You hot-blooded types are always the first to go, she threatened. Natsu smirked. Hot-blooded, huh? Suddenly Natsu erupted into hot orange-red flames, which burned her and made her drop the kunai. Natsu then cloaked his fist in fire, spun around, and nailed her right in the face, sending her flying, knocking her unconscious. Natsu smirked. Who's hot now? He said cockily. Yeah, Natsu's not someone you wanna mess with, like the rest of us, said Lexi with a smirk. So, if I were you, I start the exam, now, Naruto shouted. After regaining consciousness, Anko started the exams. While they were waiting to get their scroll, Eli sniffed and smelled the air around him. He had caught a familiar scent. He turned to CWH. At he thought was the most beautiful girl in the world. Suddenly he recognized her scent and his eyes widened, like he had seen a ghost. No way, is that Treya, he thought. The girl saw him and her eyes widened as well. She smiled as well, but it was a mischievous one. Then suddenly she blew a kiss at him and then walked away. Eli broke out of thoughts and was about to go after her, but he was topped by Naruto when he came over and got him, so they could go to their gate and start the exam. Inside the forest of death, there was a team of cloud ninja in the middle of it. He first was a dark-skinned boy with spiky white hair. He was wearing a kumo flak with a sword on his back and was sucking on a lollipop. The other was a flat-chested, dark-skinned, red-haired kunoichi with a sword on her back. She was wearing a long-sleeved dress underneath a kumo flak jacket. The third was a girl with short, straight, blonde hair. She was wearing a kumo flak jacket around her stomach and had a rather sizable bust. They were standing in forest trying to come up with a plan. I think we should find the nearest team and take their scroll. The redhead said, but Karui, what F that team of high-rank ninjas or that team, they could kill us and take our scroll. Her male teammate told her, oh please Omoi, I could handle those two losers with one hand tied behind my back. Right, Samui, Karui yelled, but still, we should be careful, just in case it is them. The blonde said, yeah, you never who could sneak up on you. A voice shouted. The three Kumo ninjas were startled and got on the defense. Suddenly 4 figures dropped from the trees. Naruto, Eli, Natsu, and Lexi, each had a sporting grin of their own. The Kumo ninja tensed up as they saw the 4 mages. And over the scroll and we won't pick you apart, piece by piece. Naruto said in a cold tone. Like we hand it over to you losers. Karui said with a smirk. She then went a set of hand signs. Eat this. Lightning style. Shocking inspiration. She yelled. A trail of lightning went towards Lexi who had a smirk on her face. She surprised the other team by eating her lightning. How did you? Karui started but was cut off by Lexi. Lightning devil rage, she shouted. A medium-sized bolt of white lightning came from her mouth and went towards Karui, who was still too shocked to move out the way. She was zapped by 1,000 volts of demon lightning and fell unconscious with slight burns on her body. Karui's teammates looked in shock at what happened. We warned ya, Fire Dragon Iron Fist. Natsu shouted then came towards Omoi who had time to block it, but that didn't do much as he was still sent flying towards a tree. Then Samui was the only left. Naruto and Eli just smirked and decided to end this quick. Sky Dragon Roar. Naruto bellowed. A tornado of magic sent flying and then suddenly Eli appeared behind her. Lightning Dragon Jaw. He then clasped his hands together, covered them in lightning, and slammed her to the ground. After the quick battle, they found a heaven scroll, which was what they needed. Suddenly they heard a loud high-pitched scream. Naruto recognized it as Satsuki's. That's Satsuki. She need help, he said. His team nodded at him and went off to help the young heiress. Right now Satsuki and Kasumi were in front of an unconscious Sasuke Uchiha. And one Sakura Haruno trying to protect him. The 2 genin were facing a large snake, glaring down at them with murderous intent. On top of the snake was a tall grass ninja with dark, emotionless, eyes and a long snake-like tongue. Looking down at them in glee. Heh, looks like today's the day you die, daughter of the 4th Hokage. He said with an evil smirk. He and his snake then charged right at the 2 heiresses. And the snake wrapped its long tongue around Satsuki. Just before it could do anything else, a blast of fire incinerated the giant snake and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Orochimaru landed on the ground with a look of shock on his face. Satsuki started to fall, but was suddenly caught by something or someone. She opened her eyes to see the person who had saved and she had a happy look on her face when she saw who it was. Naruto-kun, she said with a blush and hearts in her eyes. Hey Satsuki, Naruto said with a grin. Oni-chan, Kasumi said with a shocked look. What just? He was cut off by another voice. White Dragon Punch. The next thing he knew he was punched by a clone of Naruto who had a white light-covered fist. The blow sent him flying several meters away. Suddenly Eli, Natsu and Lexi appeared. Naruto went over to Natsu and handed Satsuki to him. Natsu, Lexi, get them out of here, now. He ordered. But, Natsu started. Don't argue, just do it. He yelled. Natsu flinched in fear, but nodded and went over to Sakura and grabbed her as well. Lexi grabbed the unconscious Sasuke and Kasumi, despite her protests. The only ones left in the area was Naruto, Eli, and Orochimaru, who had just gotten his second wind. Orochimaru stared at the two boys with hatred and intent. That was quite a punch in that boy, he looks almost like Minato. He thought. So you're Minato's lost boy, are you? He said. Suddenly Naruto appeared in front him and delivered a strong uppercut, knocking him into the next tree. Orochimaru once again regained his bearings and looked at the boy. Don't ever call me that man's son, he's dead to me, he said with a cold glare. Quite a temper. Orochimaru mused. In a flash of lightning, Eli appeared above him. He's not the only one, Eli said. He slammed his fist into his open palm. Ice make. Javelin. Eli shot lances of ice at Orochimaru, who slithered his way around them, narrowly dodging the attacks. Naruto then decided to lend his brother a hand and disappeared in a flash of fire and appeared behind Orochimaru. His hands glowed blue and he then slammed his hands into the ground and a wall of ice came up, blocking his escape. Eli came down to their level, making Orochimaru turn his attention to him. He charged at Orochimaru with a barrage of punches and kicks which he nearly blocked, except for one hit that sent flying into the ice wall. Orochimaru then leapt over to another tree. He then went through some hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. He shouted. He blew a ball of fire at Naruto, who was ready. Ice make. Blast. He yelled. Naruto shot a beam of ice from his hands, which collided with the fireball, making a plume of steam. Naruto starting charging his magic, ready to end this. Orochimaru was also going through some hand signs. Wind style. Great tornado. Orochimaru shouted. He let loose a big funnel of wind and Naruto let loose on his own. Lightning dragon roar. Naruto let loose a large yellow electric tornado that overpowered Orochimaru's and went towards him, knocked him off the tree, sending him down to the deep, dark ground of the forest. Let's make sure he stays down. Shadow dragon black rays. Eli shouted. He let loose a huge blast of multiple black-colored rays. The rays went down to the area Orochimaru was and destroyed the everything around it. Think we got him? Eli asked. No, but let's go, Naruto said. The two brothers disappeared in a flash of lightning. Unknown to them, Orochimaru was watching them keenly. He had a malicious smile on his face as he stared Naruto and Eli before they left. Speed, strength, being able to summon ice from their hands and bending the other elements to their will. I think I found two new vessels, he thought. He disappeared into shadows with new plans for Naruto and his brother. Chapter end. Chapter 7. After their little encounter with Orochimaru, the wizard team, which consisted of Naruto, Eli, Natsu, and Lexi, along with their exceeds, decided to help Team 7. They thought since Orochimaru was after the two Uchiha twins, it would be best to stick with them for protection. Sasuke was angry, stating that an Uchiha didn't need help, with Sakura agreeing with him, only to be shut up by his sister, who was happy to have her Naruto with them. The mages then gave them an earth scroll, since that was the scroll they needed to pass, and made their way to the tower. It was easy to get there since Naruto and Eli combined their powers to get them there in a flash of lightning. They were shocked by how fast they got them there. Sasuke then demanded they teach him how to do that and all other jutsus, as they should be used by an Uchiha only. This stopped when Eli beat the crap out of him for trying to order around his little brother. During the next 2 days, Naruto and Eli were training the others in their Slayer arts, since they had more experience and power when it came to Slayer magic. Naruto would help Natsu with his fire magic and fire dragon Slayer magic, and how to use them in combinations. He also implanted a fire dragon lacrima inside of him to help him achieve his dragon force faster. He would also spar with Natsu to help him improve his hand-to-hand combat skill, which were already good. Naruto would help Lexi with her magic, by teaching her lightning spells outside her Devil Slayer magic. Lexi also learned from 2 of the books she brought with her on elemental magic. She was learning how to combine her devil element with another element. Outside of it, Naruto helped her learn how to since his mother taught him how to combine his Dragon Slayer elements as long as they were compatible with each other. Satsuki would spend some her time with Naruto when she wasn't training. During the time they spent together, Satsuki had asked the question about what happened the night he left, like, where'd he go, what has he been doing, needles. To say by the time Naruto was done explaining, she was both shocked and happy. She was glad to her best friend crush back. Kasumi would also tried to get to know her brother more and spend time with him, but he refused. He also threatened to rip out her heart and feed it to the death god, Shinigami, himself. Currently Naruto and Eli were watching Natsu and Lexi spar with Sin and Happy on the sidelines. They wanted to see how much their teammates' students had improved. The match was interrupted when Naruto caught a scent, which made him turn around and snarl with anger. The others noticed this. They turned to see what Naruto was looking at. At the door were 5 people. 2 of them were Naruto's former parents Minato and Kushina, the third was Kasumi, and the last 2 were his former godparents, Tsunade Senju and Jiraiya. Minato smiled at him and came forward. Naruto, I'm happy to have you home. He was cut off by Naruto's cold glare. Don't call me that, I'm not your son, you bastard. He hissed, making Minato stop. Naru-chan, shut it, he yelled, making her flinch and tears to well in her eyes. I am not your son, you bitch. Don't talk to your mother like that, brat. Tsunade yelled. He wasn't talking to you, you old bag. Eli said, coming over, making Tsunade glare at him. And she's not my mother. He said. Sochi, can we please talk? Kushina asked. No. Now I'll ask again, why are you here? Naruto asked. Well, to show that we are sorry, me and your mother have decided to give you training, we want to train you for the exams. Sensei and I are willing to. He was cut off by the wizard team's laughter. I'm sorry, but these 2 being trained by them, please. Lexi said. Yeah, Naruto and Eli are way stronger than that old lady and white-haired freak. Natsu said, laughing. Aye, sir. Happy said, giggling. Yeah, Sin agreed. This made everyone look at them in shock, except for Jiraiya and Tsunade, who glared at them in anger. Hey, who do you think you are? Tsunade yelled. You should be grateful to be trained by us, the Sannin. Jiraiya said hotly. Oh please, I bet the only reason Gigi only chose you was because he felt sorry for you. Naruto mocked. Do us a favor, take these losers and get out of here, now. Eli said. Tsunade was about to yell at him, until she got a weird look and smirk on her face. Okay. Then kid, how about a deal? She said. Eli looked at like she was crazy. A deal? You and that brat beat us, we leave you alone, we win, you train under and spend time with your mother. She said with a smirk. The brothers just sighed. If you 2 idiots want to eat your dinner through a straw, fine. Eli said, then turned to Naruto. I'll take the blonde bitch. Right. Naruto nodded. The others moved to the sidelines and Eli and Tsunade were in the center of the arena. You should just give up and be trained, kid, there's no way 2 brats can beat us. Jiraiya said with smirk. Naruto didn't reply. At the center, Eli and Tsunade faced down. Tsunade had a cocky smirk on her face and Eli just stood there with his arms crossed. Hope you're ready, kid, cause all I need is 1 finger to. She was cut off by Eli appearing in front of her and delivering a strong elbow strike to her cheek. He then continued with a left haymaker that sent her a few feet away. Then Eli jumped in the air and delivered a right roundhouse kick to her solar plexus. Tsunade just stood there in shock of what happened. How'd the boy in front of her get the drop on her like that? Eli just looked at her, with an impassive look. Tsunade got an angry look on her face and charged at him. She cocked back her fist and shot it forward. Eli just waited for it to come and shot his hand and blocked it. Everyone, except for the wizards, looked stunned at what happened. Tsunade just looked at him with wide eyes in shock and slight fear. No one's ever blocked her powerful punches before. Eli smirked, then he uppercut her, sending her away, but Eli grabbed her foot the moment she was sent flying and slammed her the other way on the ground. He then grabbed her by her shirt and punched in the stomach a few times, then threw her over his shoulder towards the wall. Her body hit it, making a huge spider web-like crack in it. Eli looked at her again and got a cold smirk on his face. You know I was going to make you suffer for what you did to Naruto, but I decided I'm just gonna put you out of your misery. He then charged at the blonde and cloaked his body in fire. Fire Dragon Sword Horn. He then delivered a fire-covered headbutt sending her into the air. In midair, he flipped over her with his cheeks puffed up. Iron Dragon Roar. He then let loose a black tornado of metal and blasted her from behind, sending her down to the ground making a small crater. In a flash of lightning, Eli was on the ground in front of Tsunade with his hands glowing red on fire. He grabbed her by chin and turned her the other way. He smirked then got into a stance ready to end this. Dragon Slayer Secret Arts. Flame Lotus, Fire Dragon Fists. He bellowed. He then delivered a barrage of strong, red-hot, Fire Dragon Iron Fists to Tsunade who was barely conscious. He finished it with one last punch that sent her across the arena. Eli jumped back and his hands glowed blue with ice. He got into a stance. And now to finish you, Dragon Slayer Secret Arts, Sapphire Cross, Exploding Ice Blade. He shouted. He thrust out hands and shot out a large torrent funnel of ice magic. When the attack hit Tsunade, she was engulfed in the torrent and you could hear was her screaming in pain. After the match ended, everyone could see Tsunade on the ground with a small pool of blood around her head. She was twitching in pain of the attack. She had multiple cuts, scraps, and bruises. Her clothes were ripped and torn almost everywhere. She had blood coming from her mouth and back of her head. Everyone looked in shock at what happened. There's Tsunade who was the strongest woman in the elemental nations lost to a mere boy of 16, in a matter of minutes. They couldn't believe it. What just happened? Kushina asked in shock. I don't know. Minato said. He beat Ba-san. Kasumi said in shock and fear. Eli then came over with Tsunade in his hands. He dropped her harshly on the floor. Here's your Sanin. Stupid blonde didn't last 5 minutes against me, no offense Lexi. He said. None taken. She replied. Eli turned back to Tsunade, glared at her and stomped his foot on her head, digging into her skull. Naruto told me you were the legendary sucker for losing at gambling. But it turns out are a loser in life too. He said harshly before kicking her away. Eli then turned to Naruto. Your turn little bro, make sure you make it hurt. Eli said with a sinister smile. Naruto grinned and nodded at him, then turned to Jiraiya with a cold vicious smirk. I going to enjoy this. Jiraiya gulped. Also, my little brother has 3 times the power I have. So this is really gonna hurt. Eli said told him smirking. Naruto and his former godfather went to the center of the arena. Naruto got into a battle stance, while Jiraiya composed himself and smirked. You might be strong kid. But there's no way you can best the mighty. Jiraiya was cut off by a lightning-covered fist to the throat. Lightning Dragon Iron Fist, he said. Jiraiya was sent flying away. But before he could hit the wall, Naruto appeared in front of him and grabbed him by his throat again. His hands glowed with black shadow energy. Shadow Dragon Waxwing Flash, he yelled. Then his arm and hand let out a small funnel of black wind that sent Jiraiya backwards. Jiraiya got up and glared at Naruto. He then went through some hand signs and slammed his hand on the ground. Summoning Jutsu. In puff of smoke there in front of Jiraiya was a medium-sized orange toad with battle armor and a battle axe. Naruto smirked. He charged his hands with white energy. He rose them up to his level. White Dragon Holy Ray, he yelled. He let out a barrage white light rays that struck Jiraiya and his toad 5 times before it ended. Jiraiya's summoning had poof back to W. Here he came from and he was on the floor barely moving. Naruto smirked. What's wrong godfather? Can't beat a snot-nosed brat. He said the word godfather mockingly. Guess you're just as weak as everyone thinks you are. He laughed coldly. Naruto's face then turned serious. Let's end this. He got into a stance and his hands glowed red with fire and yellow with lightning. Advanced Dragon Slayer. Secret Arts. Flame Lotus. Flaming Lightning Blade. He bellowed. He shot out his hands and engulfed Jiraiya in a vortex of fire and lightning. All you could was his cries of pain and agony. Once the attack ended, Jiraiya was alive but barely. His clothes were torn off and he was scorched and had multiple burns on all over his body. He was passed and his eyes went white with pain. There was also some blood coming from his mouth. Naruto smirked and turned to his teammates and brother who was cheering for him. Naruto then appeared in front of the Namakazes and dropped Jiraiya at their feet. Leave now, and don't let me catch Until the next part of the exams, or else. Naruto emphasized the last part. The Namakazes looked at him in fear, then gathered up the two Sannin and left as fast as possible. Naruto went back to his team. On the railings, the rest of Team 7 watched the matches. Each one of them had a different look on their faces. Satsuki had a dreamy-eyed look on hers as she looked at Naruto. Sakura had one of fear and utter disbelief, and Sasuke had a look of anger, hatred, and jealousy. "Wow, Naru-kun's so strong, he's incredible," she said with a blush and sparkles in her eyes. "No way, what are they?" Sakura screeched in utter fear. "Where they'd get that power? I should have that power, an Uchiha, an elite," Sasuke thought as he glared at the two brothers. After the next 2 days the final part of the Chunin exams started, which was a simple tourney. The matches were decided by a randomizer that would pick who would fight who. Naruto and his team didn't listen since to them the other teams were all weaklings. Soon the competition began, and I'm going to skip most of the matches since they were mostly boring, and note the matches are changed a bit. Closing parenthesis. Round 1. Sasuke Uchiha vs Yoroi Akato equals winner, Sasuke. Round 2. Shino Aburame vs Kiri Ninja 1 equals winner, Shino. Round 3. Hinata Hyuga vs Kiri Ninja 2 equals winner, Hinata. Round 4. Satsuki Uchiha vs Iwa Ninja 1 equals winner, Satsuki. Round 5. Sakura Haruno vs Ino Yamanaka equals draw. Round 6. Choji Akamichi vs Dosu equals winner, Dosu. Round 7. Naruto Dragner vs Tera Terumi. "Looks like I'm up," Naruto said walking down to the arena. "Good luck bro," Eli shouted. "Win this for Fairy Tail," Natsu yelled. Naruto grinned at them then turned to his opponent. It was Kunoichi from Kiri. She was quite attractive. She had fishnet stockings on her arms and legs. She was wearing a blue sleeveless shinobi top that covered her ample chest and wore blue skirt and high-heeled shinobi sandals. She had a sword on her back and wore her shinobi headband around her neck. She looked Naruto up and down and winked at him. Naruto paid no attention to her. "Begin," the proctor said. "Hey, you're kind of cute. After I beat why don't we go out?" She flirted, making Satsuki glare at her. "Sorry, I don't date tramps," he said, making her glare at him. "You're gonna regret that," she yelled. Tera got out her sword and charged at him. She swiped at him only for Naruto to dodge. She slashed at him over and over. She couldn't land a blow at all. She got tired of playing around and jumped back and went through some hand signs. "Lava style. Lava bullets," she yelled. Naruto smirked and put up his hands and fingers in a way his father taught him. "Shielding of light," he yelled. A white magic seal appeared in front of him, as the lava bullets came close. It glowed red and the lava was absorbed into the seal. Tera had her mouth open in shock. Naruto put his hands on his hips and gave her a cocky smile. "What, that all you got?" he taunted. "How did you?" Tera began but was cut off when several black chains came up and wrapped themselves around her, then lifted her high in the air. Naruto then was engulfed in a golden light. When it faded, everyone was shocked at his new appearance. Naruto was now wearing a knight type of armor. It was white with blue stripe markings on the arms, legs, and helmet, and it had a wolf-like helmet and 2 golden yellow fang blades on his back. "Wolf warrior armor," he announced. Everyone in the stands was shocked at what Naruto was doing, except for the wizards. "Wow, Naruto-kun looks so different," Satsuki said, blushing at his new appearance. "Kasumi, what's your brother doing?" Sakura said. "I don't know, he never told me," she replied sadly. Sasuke on the other was looking at the strange technique in interest. He tried to copying it with his Sharingan, but to his frustration, couldn't. "What is that jutsu, and why can't I copy it?" he thought angrily. Minato, Kushina, and Hiruzen were looking at what Naruto had done as well. How did Sochi do that in those chains? She wondered. "I don't know," her husband answered. "So, this what magic can do, very impressive Naruto-kun," he thought as he looked at his surrogate grandson with pride. Naruto was glaring at his opponent and glowed white with energy. He got out his blades and went into a stance. "Lobo Kendo," he shouted. He moved forward at blinding speeds and slashed Tera multiple times before appearing behind her. The black chains disappeared and Terra fell to the floor unconscious. Naruto then re-equipped Ed into his normal attire, starting walking towards his teammates, who were cheering for him. The winner is Naruto Dragner, the proctor announced. Nice job bro. Eli congratulated. Yeah, that was awesome Naruto. Natsu said. Well done, Naruto. Lexi said. Naruto smiled. Thanks guys. The proctor announced the next match. Round 7. Natsu vs Neji Hyuga. Natsu was on the arena floor grinning from ear to ear, while Neji had blank look on his. I'm all fired up. Show me what you got. He said. You should just drop up. Fate has already decided me the winner. Neji said. Wow, you should really take that stick out your butt. Natsu replied, making Neji glare at him. Up in the stands, both Natsu's and Neji's team were looking with intent. That guy doesn't stand a chance against Neji. One girl with buns in her hair said. I wouldn't count Natsu out. Naruto said. Neji got into his clan's stance and then rushed at Natsu. He started doing pressure points and palm strikes all over Natsu's body. Not that it bothered the pink-haired dragon slayer. Neji then jumped back ready to finish it with one more strike. He smirked and charged at Natsu. He lashed out his hands, only for him to grab his hand, stopping the strike. Neji's eyes widened in surprise. Natsu smirked and then cloaked his fist in fire and punched Neji, hard, sending him flying. Natsu jumped back and put his hands up to Hi's mouth, and a magic seal appeared in front of him. Fire Dragon Roar, he yelled. He let out a huge blast of orange-red flames at the statue where Neji crashed, making a huge explosion when it hit. Once the smoke cleared, you could see Neji on the ground twitching in pain. Natsu grinned impishly and raised his fists in the air and let out a roar of triumph. The winner is Natsu Dragneel, the proctor said. Natsu then went up to his teammates and the proctor announced the next matches. Round 8. Shikamaru Nara vs Kin equals winner. Shikamaru. Round 9. Rock Lee vs Gaara equals winner. Gaara. Round 0. Tent N vs Tamari equals winner. Tamari. Round 11. Lexi Drayar vs Kiba Inuzuka. The two stared each other down. Kiba had a smirk on his face. After this, I'm gonna make you my woman, he boasted. Lexi ignored him and checked out her nails. Kiba got angry, then put down Akamaru and ran at her. Lexi kept checking her nails. When he got close, she pointed her finger and shot a bolt of white lightning. That shocked him over and over. The attack ended and Kiba was on the floor unconscious. The proctor announced her winner, Lexi Drayar, he announced. Round 12. Eli Dragner vs Kuretsuchi. Eli had a bored look on his face as he faced his opponent. It was an Iwa Kunoichi with a flak jacket. She had one skirt on one side and had black eyes with no iris and had a sword on her thigh. She smirked as she looked at Eli. You should give up. I'm the granddaughter of the Tsuchikage. I can't lose, she boasted. Eli just cleaned out his ears. Huh, you say something. Kuretsuchi got into a stance and charged at the boy with her sword brandished. She slashed at him only for dodge and then threw a kick, which was blocked and countered with a punch, sending her away a few feet. Kuretsuchi glared at him, only to see he was glowing. He touched the necklace and large sword emerged from it. The sword was medium-sized. It had black hilt that was shaped like a demon head sideways with a batwings coming out the sides. It also had rubies in the eyes of the head. It had a long bronze-colored blade coming out of the hilt, with a double music note on it and a small triangle symbol above it. The blade glowed and lit on blue fire. He got into a stance. Flame Dragon Pyro Strike, he shouted. He struck the sword into the ground and a wave of blue fire raced towards the kunoichi. She went through some hand signs and slammed her hands on the ground. Earth style. Mud wall, she yelled. A wall of hardened mud came up and the fire strike hit it and blew it to pieces. She blown away onto her back. She tried to get up only to see a sword on her neck with Eli over her. She glared at him. I give up, she stubbornly conceded. Eli smirked. He then went up to the stands where his team was. Sasuke came over with a greedy look in his eye. Hey loser, give me that sword, it belongs in the hands of an Uchiha. He smirked, thinking he would get what he wanted. Eli ignored him. I said give me that sword, he yelled, irritated. Eli ignored him again. Sasuke growled, then lunged at the blade only to get zapped the moment he touched it. He was lying on the ground, unconscious. What did you do to Sasuke-kun, you baka? Sakura screeched at him. You want to go next? He threatened, making her pale and shut up in fear. Round 12. Kasumi Uzumaki Namikaze vs Zaku. After Eli, Naruto's former sister went up against a sound genin named Zaku. She was on the ropes, but in the end she won. After her match, Kasumi looked at her brother to see if she was cheering for her, but was instead greeted with a glare and unimpressed look. That made her look at the ground. After her match, there was one more that caught Naruto's brother's attention. It was between the girl she saw at the beginning of the second exam and another male shinobi from Iowa. Round 13. Traya Blackthorn vs Iowa Ninja 2. Traya, not wanting to waste a minute, rushed at high speeds that made Minato look like a slug, and cocked back her fist. Chaos Dragon Devastation Fist, she yelled. She shot out her fist and impaled the ninja with it. He grunted in pain, before falling to the floor dead. Everyone had a shocked look on their faces as they looked at how fast she ended it and how brutal she was, except for Naruto and Eli, especially Eli, since he knew her. Still as brutal and bloodthirsty as ever. Eli said to himself. Naruto overheard him. You know her, Eli? He asked. Yeah, she's Traya Blackthorn, the Chaos Dragon Slayer, daughter of Acnologia the Apocalypse Dragon. He replied. What? Acnologia's daughter? How do you even know her? He asked. Eli shushed him. Don't tell the others, Eli told him. Naruto was flabbergasted, but kept his mouth shut. After the tournament, the remaining genin and wizards were told that these were just preliminaries. They would face one another in the finals, which would be put off for a month for training. They all went to a ballot box to find out who they face. Round 1. Naruto vs Kasumi. Round 2. Eli vs Traya. Round 3. Shikamaru vs Tamari. Round 4. Satsuki vs Hinata. Round 5. Sasuke vs Gaara. Round 6. Natsu vs Lexi. Round 7. Shino vs Konkuro. Kasumi and her parents had a look of fear on their faces as they saw Kasumi would face her brother. Naruto had evil grin on his face. He grinned knowing he would face his former bitch of sister. He turned to them with a look that said, I'm going to enjoy making your daughter bleed all over. Which made them pale in fear. Natsu and Lexi smirked at each other, looking forward to finishing their match that was interrupted earlier. Eli, on the other hand, had a look of shock on his face, as he saw he would be facing Traya of all people, considering this was the second time he fought her. He looked over to her and saw she was looking at him and had a sickly sweet smile on her face. She blew him another kiss, then vanished into black smoke. After the matches were decided, Naruto's team left, ready to train to show the Leaf the power of fairy tale. Chapter End. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.